Hello. Welcome to Armchair Expert. I am your host, Dak Shepard. Today I'm going to speak with Pete Wentz, who is the bass player for Fall Out Boy, very popular band, a loved band. I know Pete socially through our mutual friend Ryan Hansen. I've probably hung out with him at their house a couple dozen times, and he's been to our house. He's a very, very nice guy. He's got a couple kids, and that makes him an ideal double date scenario for us. And I didn't know much about him, and I read a lot about him before the night I interviewed him, and I was excited to find out that he, like myself, has had some emotional trials up and down, and I had a lovely time talking to him, and I hope you'll have a lovely time listening to us.
We get support from Quince.
Have you been wearing the Quince linen shirts?
Yeah, I've been wearing them a suspicious amount. Yeah, European linen ones, they're $34, which is genuinely insane for how nice they are.
It doesn't even make sense.
Well, here's the deal. They work directly with the factories, cut out all the middlemen, so you're paying for the actual quality and not some brand's marketing budget. Everything's 50 to 80% less than comparable stuff. I love it because it's all very classic and traditional, and I know I'm going to be able to keep it for a very long time, and the quality's off the charts.
That's true. The style is very consistent. Whatever you get there, you walk down the street, you're going to look good. They have these lightweight cotton sweaters, which I love for when it cools down at night. It's nice drape around your shoulders in the summer and then throw it on when it gets a little cool. And it's not just clothes. They do home stuff, ding, 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 travel stuff, everyday essentials. It's all the same model, quality without the markup.
Make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/Dax for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Dax for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Dax. Let's talk about a condition many people haven't heard of, and it turns out it's more common than you'd think. Peyronie's disease, or PD for short. PD can happen when scar tissue builds up under the skin of the penis. This can cause a curve with a bump during an erection, and for some men lead to pain during intimacy and may impact mental health. It may also lead to anger and frustration, depression, lowered self-esteem, and even withdrawal from sexual activity and physical intimacy. Because of this, some men could feel embarrassed or reluctant to talk about PD. The actual cause of PD isn't always known. In some cases, it may be linked to a minor injury or repeated injuries during sex or other physical activity. The good news is PD is treatable. If you notice a curve with a bump, a trusted urology specialist can help diagnose it and walk you through your options, including non-surgical treatment. To learn more about Peyronie's disease, visit talkaboutpd.com.
He's an armchair expert.
Germany's a little more like the U.S. Yeah, you'll be in like all these places.
Sure.
And you're kind of like,
Weren't the Beatles really popular in Germany?
Yeah, and that's where they
They
started all
were
the
playing
boy
at a
bands.
strip club there, right?
Yeah, and they started in Hamburg and got like some of them got kicked out, I think, for weed and Yeah, you can do like a Beatles tour in Hamburg.
All right, well, I want us to talk about all this
Are we
officially.
recording,
when
Rob?
Rob, are we on? Pete Wentz, welcome to the Armchair Expert podcast.
Hello.
You really crammed me in because you're leaving tomorrow morning for
Yes.
Berlin.
Yes.
I thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
And you know what was really fun about this is I know you socially,
Yes.
which is a great way to just... We're friends with Ryan Hansen and Amy Hansen, probably the most fun couple in Los Angeles.
Definitely.
And you just were at their house one time, and I was like, "Oh, that guy's a rock star." But you are so humble. You're like you're shockingly humble rock star that it's easy to forget that you are one, which is, I think, a compliment to you.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
agree.
man.
Yeah.
I think that because it's like a thing where like I don't know how you think about it, but I like think of myself as like the 14-year-old in the punk rock band. Like I don't think of myself, like
Yes, it's hard to own. Like I'm always jealous when I used to watch American Idol. Did you ever watch any of those seasons?
Totally.
So there's a moment in every season of American Idol where it gets down to the final four or whatever, and then they go home to their small town and they take a ride in a convertible. There's a parade,
Totally.
and they're waving and they're crying and they're like experiencing the adulation.
Totally.
And I've always watched that with such great envy, thinking like I've never had that moment where I was like, I made it.
Totally.
Yes, it's happened.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? But they really seem to be able to experience that. Can you stomach that? Like, can you connect your own identity to that level of success?
One of the things being in a band that people sometimes do is like you'll go to a hotel pool or whatever and they play your song and it like makes me want to throw up. Like I can't think of anything. You know, like more. It's like because then I'm like, do people think I put it? I don't know.
It is a very confusing experience. The only thing I can compare to that is a few different times I've been flying like internationally, and I'll be walking back and forth to the bathroom. You know what happened? I did a USO tour where we flew to Qatar or Kuwait, whatever it was, and on the plane they had a couple movies just by chance that I was in, and on the walk back and forth to the bathroom, I noticed like 6 different people were watching movies I was in, and it was just all very confusing. I kept going like, oh, this must be exciting for them. I tried to think about, oh, that would be cool. I would like it if I was watching a movie and I looked up and the guy who just jumped off a roof or whatever was now going to the shitter.
Totally.
But it's all very confusing too. And then I'm like, oh, I'm an egomaniac. No one cares that you're on this plane.
I always think of it in the terms of like, what's the experience somebody would want from, like, how do they view you? What would the experience be that they would want?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's a very generous way to look at it.
Well, like, I remember I was at the dentist's office, just riding down the elevator, and I don't know him at all, but like Jack Black was behind me, and I'm getting out of the elevator, and he just does this weird, like, look where it was like, I'm doing this look to you, but like, no one's gonna, like, you'll tell anyone the story and it won't, like, and it was like, that was like all I needed from it, you know, like, and getting that sometimes is awesome.
Stern talks about that a lot, where if you're mildly famous and then you run into someone else who's famous, there is this awkward moment where you're like, well, I know who you are, and then you're kind of looking to see if they know.
Do you?
Yeah, they know who you are. I would be thrilled, for Jack Black to give me a little rhythm.
Yeah, and it was like the perfect, like, I'm doing like a real weird face to you, and like whatever. It's great, you know? Like, we didn't talk at all. It was great.
Yeah, so he gave you basically the experience you wanted from him. Yeah, that was nice of him.
Yeah. But don't you think people just want an experience? They don't really care what it is. They just want to walk away with saying, oh, some person did this, or they did that, or they want a story.
There's some people I think you want a particular, to me, you want a particular experience from. Like The Rock, you want the like, you know, like there's certain people, and there's certain people who are like,
you
don't want to catch him on the day that he's depressed.
Yeah, or like off duty or something, you know, like that. It's like the off duty you don't want, you know?
Yeah. Though I think some people would be like, I met The Rock and he was nothing like he comes off. Like, people want that too, which is bad. I think it's a trap.
I totally agree with Monica. I think ultimately some part of your brain knows, oh, I'm going to be repeating this story. Mm-hmm. Like, the first famous person I ever saw was Jay Leno. He was at the corner of Sunset and Tower. And I was on vacation with like my buddies from Detroit, and we pulled up to the light. And we looked to the left. Well, first we were like, oh, there's a Cyclone with Corvette wheels. Who would have that? Because we're gearheads. And then it's Jay Leno. So now we're telling him, like, roll down the window, roll down the window. Right. We're signaling him, and God bless him, he rolled down the window. And he goes, hi. You know, he looked at us and And we're like, oh my God, we love your Cyclone with the vet wheels. And then he was like,
he's stoked.
Yeah, because it was like car talk and not, right.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then he floored it and took off really fast.
Yeah.
And it was very, very exciting. But at any rate, I do think when someone meets someone like that, they immediately go like, oh, I'm going to be repeating this to somebody, right? So I have to have a conclusion. I can't just go like, oh, I saw Pete in an elevator. And then people are like, and
what was he like?
Was he shorter than you thought?
Yeah.
Was he taller?
Totally.
Was he a dick?
Was he a dick? Yeah.
Yes.
Was he a dick or was he not a dick?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure on that person to come to a pretty severe conclusion about you in a very
like a
short
2-minute. So my first experience with a famous person, I think, was we'd come out here. We were living at the Oakwoods, which is like corporate housing.
Wow.
Super
If you don't know
depressing.
what the Oakwoods are, there's a great documentary on Netflix about it. And it's where every child actor comes during pilot season.
It's super
it's
depressing.
So
like,
sad.
Yeah. A lot of stage moms and
It's like all not good.
Yeah.
So we were out here. We go to me and Patrick, who sings in Fall Out Boy. We went to a show, a ska show at the time. And we're at the show, and we don't know. We also didn't know like the etiquette of, because there's like an etiquette to, if you see a
It's
famous person
regional.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we see Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks, who is the bigger guy, the bigger guy on Mighty Ducks.
From the movie,
The Mighty
Yeah,
Ducks.
okay.
And we're going like, oh, it's Goldberg. It's like, and he can hear us, but we don't know that that's like not really cool to do.
Yeah.
So we're saying it, we're pointing at him like way too close. He knows it all. And we're like, no, it's not him. He's not responding. Like, he clearly is hearing Goldberg
you're
over
giving
again.
him some clues like, if you're him, go ahead and nod.
Yeah, and he's not doing any of it. And then on the way out, he walks by us and he's like, quack, quack, fuck you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
right?
and I was like, this is the greatest story. And it gives you a conclusion, and it's the greatest,
Yes.
Yeah.
So my personal experience with this, where it occurred to me that is what's happening, is I was in Las Vegas and I was gambling one night. I hope I can remember every little step of this, but I was gambling one night, and then my cousin was going to meet me. So it's a huge casino. So I tell him like, oh, there's a nightclub there, Light. Why don't you meet me by the line? Because that'll be easy to find. So I'm there, and I'm also incidentally wearing flip-flops, whatever. It's like summer in Vegas. And so I meet up with my cousin, and then that's that. The next night, I'm sitting at a blackjack table, and this girl next to me goes like, oh my God, I heard what happened to you last night. And I go, oh, what happened? She goes, they threw you out of Light because you were wearing flip-flops. And I go, no, I didn't go into Light last night. And she goes, no, my friend saw you. Like you were kicked out of Light for wearing flip-flops. And then I started like really trying to like armchair analyze this. Like why is that the story? And then I think here's what happened. I think the cousin said, oh my God, I saw Dax Shepard in line at Light. And then she went, and... Because I'm not Tom Cruise. It's not enough to just say you spotted me. Like there better be more to this story than just you saw Dax Shepard in line. Right. And then I think she started improving. Right. He was wearing flip-flops, which was true. And now she's like, he was kicked out because of him, Right. And I imagine there's a lot of stories like that floating around about a lot of people.
Yeah, and lots of stuff like if you were walking by a place, maybe you were kicked out of it, or you were like mad.
It's
like it's just like putting it all together, putting it all together, and from your perspective, and like, what do I want this? Like, what is the story I want to walk away with from this? I have a crazy one. Well, it's not super crazy. It's a little bit. But we had this bar that so in like 2005 or 2006, I would go to like bars in New York with my friends who were not in a band or whatever, and they would let like 3 of them in, but they wouldn't let like all of us in.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, let's just open our own bar because then we can all get in and it just won't whatever. So we opened this. It was just this like dive bar. So we opened this in Alphabet City. You like couldn't get a drink. I got kicked out of the bar, my own bar a couple times. But on the opening night, and we were like kind of like we were nothing. Like we didn't have like. It wasn't like there was like a red carpet and like celebrities came out, it was just whatever. But on the opening night of it, James Gandolfini went to the place next door to it.
Oh, wow.
Or like something and was caught like, like there was pictures.
It seemed like he had gone there.
And so we like didn't explain that wasn't what happened.
Yeah, you didn't deny.
Sure.
Yeah. We were like, he might have got kicked out of Light for the flip-flops. We don't know.
Yeah. Lying through omission,
Yes.
maybe. Yeah. I've, on a couple different occasions, had drivers that had driven Gandolfini to work. And I think he partied pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was next door partying, maybe.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't know that he didn't go to your bar, or at that time he didn't. But you grew up. You're younger than me, which is a bummer for me.
Not much though.
Yeah, 4.5 years. Okay. So you were born in 1979. You were a summer baby, and you were brought home to a Chicago suburb.
Yes,
that's accurate.
Yes,
because here's the fun thing about being friends with you, and just again knowing you as a human being and not knowing you as a rock star, is that I read a lot about you last night, and now I know a bunch about you. And it's just a weird dynamic because we're just friends, and you would have probably slowly told me a lot of these things, but I kind of got them all last night.
Totally, you went in. Yeah.
But your parents, if any of this is correct, your mother was an admissions counselor, and your father was a lawyer.
Yep.
And they met campaigning for Biden for a senatorial bid.
Oh.
Yes.
So just right there on paper, that to me, would you agree, Monica, sounds like the dream parents to have. Like they're liberal, they're educated, they're professional.
Yeah.
Was it
they're active politically?
Yeah. Was it like growing up with Dr. Huxtable? Was it was it perfect?
Well,
no, I mean,
that's not quite as perfect as it seemed.
Well, pretend you don't know. Again, I'm talking about Huxtable, not the man who portrayed Huxtable.
Right.
I think that it's funny because I like talk to some of our friends about it. It's like, so we were like this sole kind of like liberal family in a not super liberal waspy
Because it was
suburb.
a wealthy kind of suburb.
Yeah,
right?
and it was waspy and whatever, and
Yeah.
we weren't. And so it was weird because like my parent, like I wasn't allowed to watch TV. I didn't eat sweet cereal. Like my parents would we would have to go to like the Ethiopian restaurant or whatever, which now in retrospect, it's like getting piano lessons. Like
Yes.
30 years later, you're like, it's dope. I can like
Yeah.
play piano for my friends. But when you're like a little kid, you're like, this sucks. I just want to eat McDonald's and be
Absolutely.
like normal.
Yeah.
So we were like
Yes.
weird. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know Rob and Caitlin, right?
Yes.
So Rob McElhenney and Caitlin Olsen, I've known Caitlin forever, and her mother was super granola, and she had never had real peanut butter that her mother hadn't fucking ground up, in the kitchen sink. And it can create like a fetish. You can fetishize all this trash.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't grow up with that. So
Totally.
it can kind of backfire too.
I mean, when I left my parents' house, I watched TV for maybe like it was my job. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't have it.
Yes.
So like I was like, and
Yes.
it like the thing you said, it kind of backfired because it was like I had these ideas. I was like, it's like this land that I haven't really been a part of.
Utopia of sugar and
Totally.
formulaic TV.
Totally.
I similarly did something, which is because we were poor and we lived too far away from Detroit to be getting a good signal, and we couldn't afford cable. So I watched very little. I had to go to a friend's house to watch Dukes of Hazzard. And same thing. I moved to Santa Barbara and I stole cable from my neighbor. And that's virtually what I did for 1 year, is just
Totally.
consume 12 hours of TV
Totally.
a day. Yeah. So also I don't really understand this explanation, but I want to say that it said your mother is, I'm repeating words.
Yeah, go.
Afro-Jamaican.
That's
can
how
we
it's
say
listed.
that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So my on my mother's side,
Your
it's
grandfather was.
Yeah, he's not, but his parents were Jamaican. Colin Powell is my second cousin.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And even your grandfather is very historic too, because he had some political things.
He was an ambassador to Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So did your mother go to Sierra Leone while he was an ambassador?
So my mom was kind of an army brat, so she kind of grew up everywhere except he was an officer, so whatever. But she grew up in Italy, and I don't know if she went to Sierra Leone, but there's like this picture. I was just at my grandpa's house or apartment, and there's this like picture of him on a plane with Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
And,
wow.
And I was like, whoa, what is this? And there's like a couple other guys, and he's like, oh, this is when like I think it was Jimmy Carter. I don't know who it was, but like was sending them around to all the African countries and being like, I think it was like you shouldn't participate in the Olympic, it was like to deal with communism. It was like something like it was like, and they were on
The
some
Cold
like
War thing.
yeah, and they were on
Oh,
some
wow.
I was like, that's a crazy picture. Someone told me a Muhammad Ali story was that when he would pay for anything, and this is like you got to think about this in the context of we didn't have ATMs, like electronic stuff wasn't what it
Yes.
was, but that he would go when he went to the grocery store. If he like spent $2 at the grocery store, he would write a check because nobody cashed any of his checks because they
really?
wanted the signature.
Oh,
Yeah. So like it was
brilliant.
super smart, right?
Smart. He didn't
Yeah.
pay for anything. his
I
whole
would
life.
100% do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Super smart.
Anything under like $100, I probably
You still
would.
could.
You think so?
You can adopt
I
that.
could sell him something,
Yeah.
or you think I should start?
No,
writing?
you can do that
You can't
now.
do
No,
it.
I
You
don't
can't do it
think-
anymore though because I
Why?
think checks don't it doesn't work the same way because of electronic banking or something, right? Or no?
Well, I think for many reasons it probably wouldn't work. A, I'm not Muhammad Ali. B, I think people have phones now, and they'd far rather have a photograph with you
Yeah,
than they
that's
would
true.
like a canceled check or a voided check. Don't you think?
Totally.
Yeah,
Which is wild to me because like if I could hang out with Axl Rose, I would pick a conversation over him over a photo any day of the week.
Yes, I've kind of lamented about that as well publicly, which makes me sound like a brat. But it is true. You get the sense while it's happening, like, oh, this really doesn't have anything to do with me. They may or may not even like me. If my self-esteem's low, I'm definitely thinking that at the time. And I go, oh, they just want something for their Facebook page.
Right.
And I'm offering to chat with them,
Totally.
and that they're not so interested in that. But, whatever. Poor us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's everywhere now. People just want pictures. They want to capture every moment,
Well,
regardless of.
Rightly so. They want their own cultural capital. They want to kind of,
Yeah.
they want something that's going to get
Everyone's
them
a
attention.
brand.
And
Everyone
can
is a brand.
Yes. And how can I be critical of that? I want a ton of attention. So
Totally.
whatever. But I do tend to hate in others what I hate about myself. So I am critical ultimately. But so you grew up in a pretty affluent. What kind of lawyer is your dad?
he was a corporate lawyer, so he's not going and like, you know, standing up Alec Baldwin style and like unbuttoning or buttoning, whatever he did, you know, before he's like, so when I was little, in the 80s, he was a corporate lawyer at Helene Curtis, which is like
doing mergers or doing intellectual properties.
I think it was a lot of like, we can't say that this was not tested on animals. It was a lot of like, like how it was all worded and like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But he basically, it's interesting because it like kind of has influenced how I parent a little bit or something. But like he was just not around and like literally wasn't around. Like he was just working all the time. And it took me until I was like 30 to be like, oh, he was like working, so I could like, you know. But I didn't. You don't. It's hard to like conceptualize that as a kid. You know?
No, because you. And by the way, it's not as valuable as your time with your dad. Whatever those things were you guys had,
totally,
it probably isn't ultimately. But yeah, I have a good friend who went to Harvard Law and she came out here and she was practicing. And then she had 2 kids and she said, like, I either need to quit or I need to go to part-time. And her firm, luckily for her, said, we'll make you part-time. And for her, part-time is 45 hours a week. That's literally what part-time in the lawyering world is. Yeah. It's probably... From every friend I've ever had who's been a lawyer, it might be the worst job on the planet.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty crazy.
The like hours are just insane.
And you're like the most hated person.
Yeah.
But so my dad went from that to, and then he worked with a group that abolished the death penalty in Illinois.
Oh, really?
After that in the 90s. And then after that, he was the dean of law at Northwestern Law.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
And now he teaches law some. And then like now my dad has one of those, like, because I have a couple friends who have that, like he has a job that I don't like really... Like I try to explain to people and I don't really understand it myself. So like I'm like, he like advises, like, you know, people are like, I don't know. I'm like,
yeah, so he's kind of like a conconsultant.
Yes.
And anyone who has a job as a consultant, it's a
very vague.
ethereal job.
yeah, it's like real hard to like
yes. And how do you quantify it? How do you monetize it?
Totally.
Like if I give you a little bit of advice,
yeah.
What's that word?
Yeah, totally. How much scratch?
Does he have to feign like it took him hours to think of this advice?
I mean, I have no idea. But he was telling me, so he advises and now he'll help with mergers. So was one of many lawyers that did the United Continental merger. Okay. But when it was happening, he didn't, like, he was just like, I'm going to do stuff, you know, because he can't say anything at all. And I'm like, you could just slip me something. And he was like, it would be so.
You potentially could do some really great insider trading.
Yeah. And he was like, there's an immediate circle where like if you do any of these people do anything,
I'm not in that circle.
I know, like flip it up.
I'm 3 degrees of separation away from.
But then he'll like
United.
tell me like he was working with a snack company that had a factory line worker who was peeing in the snacks. That they didn't find out about until 2 years later. So like those snacks were out there, you know. And so he was, and I was like,
no.
I don't know how you consult on that.
I am critical of corporations as most libtards are, but I will say this: I often am feeling terrible for corporations that they ultimately are responsible for the actions of some nut job employee they have. Like you're kind of regularly reading about, you know, even the airlines, right? So, however, the on the ground flight attendants handling this debacle that's now online, it's not the company. It's like this, yet it's their responsibility. So I am a little sympathetic to, you have all these people working for you. You can't really control all these people.
But I wonder, can you or not? Because I wonder about like Disneyland. You don't like hear about it at Disneyland.
That's a pretty good point.
How?
I see the lawyering in your blood.
Totally.
It's all irrefutable point. But growing up in this neighborhood, I would say on the surface, it's like I'm sure you guys are financially right in the thick of it. You're not feeling poor. Your mother's half black. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Is that a source of any kind of in that neighborhood? Is that no big deal in 1980, or is it a big deal?
I think that it's this. I think that it's no big deal in the way that like there's not issues with crosses on the lawn or something like that. You know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is like interesting because I don't really know. Is that I don't feel like I fit in anywhere. Like I didn't fit in the neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like people didn't actively make me feel like I didn't fit in. I just was like, I don't look like any of you. I just don't feel like I fit in. You know what I mean?
Right. Which, by the way, I'm 6'2", blonde and blue-eyed, and I felt like I didn't belong anywhere.
Totally.
So it's like, of course, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to always remind myself of that when these topics of white privilege or anything else comes up.
Totally.
I get it because I felt like an outcast. I think it's like a very human condition to feel like an outcast, even when you were a bullseye of what should be fitting in.
Totally.
And maybe I was fitting in way more than other kids were. Certainly I was. And certainly you were, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's like also like where you are in your own head. Like it's just like it doesn't. Yeah. Like you're the prisoner of that no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, to me, it was not so much even like white privilege. Like I've never felt like any of that stuff. It's just like being like a mutt kind of is weird because you're just like, well, I just don't really like, I fit in with my friends, you know,
Sure.
like, and I think that's probably how I found punk rock because it was like a bunch of people who were like, we just don't really fit in anywhere. So we all just like, none of us looked like each other or whatever.
Yes.
And like, so like, it was like this like island of misfit toys kind of thing,
yes.
you know?
That's what I too was very submerged in the hardcore scene in Detroit in the early 90s. And yeah, there was this weird, I get it all. I was like, okay, I don't feel like I look like that, or that's working. So I'm going to send a very clear fuck you to the whole system, and I'm going to have white dreadlocks. By the way, I noticed you and I unfortunately both had dreadlocks. Yeah.
Totally.
Which I absolutely love. Probably my favorite hairdo ever because you didn't have to do a thing. You just woke up and your hair was styled.
That's great. Yeah,
it was great. But yeah, I found like it was a way for me to get some power back of going like, well, fuck you. I'm wearing size 48 pants and overalls and I have dreadlocks. So I'm clearly telling you I don't even want to play your game.
Totally. I'm not a part of it.
But of course I did. I would have loved to have been Homecoming King or something.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my defense. And then, yeah, that group seemed to be, or that scene seemed to be populated with people who felt similarly.
Yeah.
But I will say an evolution seemed to have happened around that time period, probably started by like Ian McKay and Discord and all that, where punk got kind of smart.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So a lot of the kids were in the scene in the Detroit area were like going to U of M, they were mathematicians, and band members were, you know, our Nation of Ulysses. These guys were like dedicated to, you know, brilliance.
Yes.
And so that was also a very cool moment too. Also, like being kind of, you know, anti-misogyny was big.
Yeah, it was thoughtful.
Yes,
you know?
Being vegan was a big movement.
And like Krishna got big in Chicago randomly.
Yeah.
But like it was all thoughtful.
Shudder to think. No.
Like 108 and
what was the big Krishna band? Shelter.
Yeah, Shelter.
Yes.
I just went on this crazy kick. There's like a great Krishna core book just for anyone listening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that the guy from 108 wrote. That's just crazy.
In the Parenthood title sequence, you know, we had to supply them with photos of ourselves in our youth, and I don't have a bunch of them, but in the title sequence for Parenthood, I'm wearing a Shelter T-shirt, and like once a year, I'll get a tweet from somebody going like, "Are you wearing a Shelter shirt in that?"
Shelter merch is really wild because it stunningly looks really relevant today to like streetwear and all that stuff.
Yes, it weirdly almost is like pre that terrible line Affliction.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy,
but it's awesome because it's also very colorful. And
totally.
In fact, my very favorite long sleeve T-shirt of all time was a Shelter white one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally, man.
Yeah,
I was actually looking.
I wore
at
it till it literally
shirts.
fell off my body.
I was looking at those the other day.
I should kind of look into that. Maybe I could pick up some old Shelter gear.
Shelter gear.
Yeah, that scene was really kind of fun to be a part of it at that time because I started going to shows with my brother who was 5 years older than me. And originally, I think my first show was 12 and we went to see Exploited.
Okay.
And that was fucking terrifying. Like I was going just to prove to my brother I was a man. We were seeing dead Kennedys and the scene was still half neo-Nazis and people wore combat boots with screws in the bottom so they could step on your foot, blah, blah, blah. And then it became really beautiful and peaceful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I came in Chicago. I came like me and my friends, because we had to like kind of sneak downtown and go to Fireside Bowl or whatever it was. And we came like right when, because it was in Chicago as well. It was like neo-Nazis were literally beaten out of this scene.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, they were like, you put up flyers. I'm like, no. They were like beaten with fists.
Yeah.
Out of like that's
well,
like
there were sharps, right? Skinheads against racial prejudice.
Yeah, and it was like, and they were, you know, but I came right after it, and it was like it was more thoughtful, and it was.
Did you ever see Sick of It All when you were a kid?
Totally. Yeah.
So I don't know what their
surface,
audience was like in Chicago, but in Detroit, Sick of It All was right down the middle. It was it was like half that new generation and then just half neo-Nazis. That was the worst show I ever saw where there was tons of fighting.
Totally. Like I said, like I think I came right at the end of it, and I wasn't going to like I would go to Sick of It All and stuff like that, but like they were like pretty much gone, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have known. Yeah.
Do you remember being scared when you would go to those shows when you were little?
Yes, I remember the mosh pit and like what can I get into, like what, like and like
What
there was
ring
like
of Dante's Inferno?
Yeah, like
How
which
deep?
level of mosh pit can I go into, and then like there's like the wall of death would have like all this stuff, and
Am I gonna dive off this stage?
yeah. And the Fireside Bowl was great because it was this little bowling alley in Chicago, and it had these payphones that were like about 10 feet back from the stage, and the deal was you would climb up on the payphone and then like head walk on the crowd to the so it's so stupid, but in such a weird like Fight Clubby like like we need this to like
and you could
Crucible
ride.
of Youth kind of thing,
and you could it was very Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry, Lord of the Flies. But you could ride on an experience like that for like 10 days. Like if you went to a show on a Friday night and you did crowd walk or whatever the fuck it's called. All week the next week in school, like I didn't care what Jock was doing what. I was like, I'm crushing out. They don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, totally. And my thing was crazy because I had like all these like pen pals, and I like bought records based on like thanks lists and all this. Like I was like super deep on all of it.
Yeah, you collected records. And
yeah,
stuff.
all of it. Yeah.
I never. That never appealed to me. The collecting, the knowing every member of every band, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I would start talking to someone, then I'd get insecure. Like I was a poser because I didn't really know who the first
I don't think any
player
of that
was.
stuff matters.
Yeah.
But like I was fully into it. It was like my coming of age or whatever. It was whatever.
And when did you start playing music?
I started playing when I was 15. I played bass because it had less strings.
Sure.
I'd taken piano growing up.
Could you read music?
I could read music on a piano, but it's just different on a guitar or on a bass. I mean, I guess, it's just like transcribing is a little different. And then...
Was there a bass player you were emulating that you loved?
No, because I feel like I got into it in the way that like I got into it because of punk rock, and there was like nobody who I was like, I liked these like local guys, and then like I did like guys like Duff McKagan and stuff, or whatever, like growing up.
Yeah, did you have an eclectic spectrum of music you were listening to?
Yes.
Or just punk?
No, I listened to punk, but like the way I got into it was like the first music I think I bought was the first CD I bought in like those long boxes was a Slayer live CD, which was Decade of Aggression, I think. And then I listened to like Metallica and stuff, and that was when you had to like order your shirts from like Blue Grape or something like in a magazine where they would like have all these tiny shirts and you're like looking at them like whatever. And it was
Bass solo take one. What is it? Is that on Anastasia?
It's Anastasia Pulling Teeth. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a really...
That's about the only vinyl I have. Is I do have all the early Metallica. I have
vinyl.
Metal Up Your Ass on vinyl. And
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah.
So like I was into him, and I was into but it was more so like the...
Did you like classic rock?
Not at the time.
You didn't.
Later on, I
was
did.
secretly listening to it.
Oh, you were?
Classic
Like
rock.
what was your like go-to?
Oh, I loved Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
I loved Rolling Stones. I also love Steely Dan. Like I always loved Steely Dan because my parents loved Steely Dan.
Steely Dan is like one of my what's it called when you just have like a blank? I have like they're just not. I never listened, so it's like a weird.
They're an enigma to you.
Yeah, it's like if you hadn't seen The Godfather or something, you're like, I know I'm supposed to like know everything about it, but I just know nothing.
And still no Steely Dan for you.
No, but not in a bad way. Like I just don't.
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
not.
I'm almost jealous of you as if you've not seen Breaking Bad and you're going to get to start.
Yeah, it's how I feel about like Game of Thrones. People who haven't seen Game of Thrones, like
Yes.
you get to experience it all. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like if you do ever open the door to Steely Dan, it will blow your mind. So
Okay.
They were just incredible
Yeah.
musicians and so weird. Every song is so different, and they were very like tongue in cheek, and I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
Please check out
Yeah.
Steely Dan. In fact, let's stop this right now. You go to your car and listen to
Come back.
Deacon Blues, and then hit me with what you think.
Good.
But you played soccer too as a kid, right?
I did. So
and you were good at it.
I was pretty good at it. That's like what I feel the most confident in my life about at the time, for sure, was playing soccer, and I played club teams, and I
so you must have felt included in that sense, right? You were on a team.
So I was like the kid on the soccer team that had like, blue hair, who hung out with like the punk rock kids. Like I was I wasn't like popular or not popular. I was like friends with everybody, but I kind of think like in a weird way a ghost, because like all my friends were like these punk rock kids that went to like other schools and stuff.
Right.
But it wasn't like antagonistic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like there was nothing I feel like you could like read about my life and think it was like this weird like antagonist. Like I think all the things that happened and all the like were beneficial for who I became. You know, like I liked playing soccer a lot, and it's like it's the thing in my life where it's like, so this is so messed up. Kind of I won't do it now because I know I can't do it as well. So it's like I just don't even want to do it a little bit.
That's me in a skateboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
like,
look
you know
at
what
it,
I mean?
I know I would be crying
Yeah.
if I tried.
Yeah. And people are like, don't you just want to kick a little bit? I'm like, I have no interest. You know? Yeah.
Well,
if my kids were into it, I would do it.
I haven't played since second grade, so maybe we should start playing together because you'll certainly be a lot better than I was when I quit playing.
Totally.
But even soccer is a little bit of a like fringe sport in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
That's where you would find dudes that were super athletic, but they weren't jocks in the traditional sense.
Yeah, it's like a little more thoughtful. My school was weird because our football team was not very good, so a lot of people gravitated towards soccer.
Oh, really?
I think. Yeah. And it's like interesting because of the neighborhood that we were in. Like your club team played the team that Walter Payton's son was on, and so it was like all this like, will Walter Payton be at the game? Like, you know, like it was like kind of cool.
When you started playing the bass and you thought, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be in a band, did you at that time have like fantasies of stardom?
No, because the stages that we were playing on were like literally like 3 inches, you know, or whatever.
Yeah,
and lots of times on the floor, you know, like, and we had all these, it was like so ridiculous. So we had this band. So I had bands that I was in and they were all like, had these like Sea of Hate or like, I don't know, like all the bad hardcore band names. And, and then we had this band, this one called, Full English Breakfast, and the deal with that band was the band was so bad. So because we would go and all these shows were in the suburbs were in like garages and, you know, like Knights of Columbus halls and whatever. And we would go, and the deal with Full English Breakfast was we would go to the guy who's throwing the show and we'd be like, hey, we got this band. Can we just jump on the show or whatever and open it?
Right.
And the deal was you had to play an instrument that you didn't know how to play.
Oh.
And we played until we got kicked off.
Wait, each show you played an instrument you didn't know?
As just a challenge to each other.
This is a challenge to the crowd. It was a little bit of a who's the comedian that
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, it's a little Andy Kaufman because it's like it just keeps going and someone has to pull the plug because the plug will not get pulled. And then after a while people knew that Full English Breakfast did that and we changed the name to Human Head and we would just do the same. It was like
interesting.
It's like-
Who was spearheading that? Because that takes a lot of confidence.
yeah, that would be I would say that was not me. That was my buddy Isaac who did that.
And was Isaac a fucking party?
He always like knew that. Like it was always that stuff. It was always he always like knew all the like
He almost out punked rock.
Yeah.
Punked.
It's very performance art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super performance art, but in the way that like
And it never got physical.
No, it never got physical, and it never like it wasn't even performance art because like there was like 12 kids here. You know what I mean? Like it was just like you're like this is just brutal.
Yeah. It's a clear fuck you though to everyone.
Yeah, I think so.
So you didn't have fantasies of grandeur during that period.
No.
You were just doing it because you thought it would be fun.
I thought it would be fun. The internet was not a thing.
Right.
Really. You know, like there was like email lists maybe or something. The most famous hardcore band was like not a whole household name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I lived with my cousin and his band, which was Current. Did you ever hear of Current?
Mm-hmm.
From
Totally.
Detroit?
Yeah,
And then they
totally.
were Ottawa, and then they were Gregor. They were the Rolling Stones in Detroit. Like I was certain they were famous worldwide.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're playing in bands for 5 years before you're in Arma Angeles.
Yes.
Or however I say that.
Yes.
Angelus?
Angelus. Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually like.
And are you getting good at bass?
I don't think so. I think
Not yet.
fine. I think
Okay.
fine.
Okay,
but
good.
like not.
You can keep time.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine. You know,
That's
but I'm not
good.
taking lessons and like it wasn't really about that. It was the spirit, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was more about getting up there and performing, probably,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Totally.
And are you writing? When do you start writing lyrics?
Not until Arma Angelus. Well, I think I was maybe doing them in some of the bands, but like not until Arma Angelus, I think.
Because when I think maybe I went to a place that maybe isn't the case, which is a lot of the dudes I knew who were really good musicians in high school, they sat in a room for hours and they played that guitar.
Totally.
And I don't know that people recognize what a lonely endeavor it is and how much it caters to people that probably have some depression. Like it's a great place to go hide and get lost.
Totally.
Right? I think that's a pretty common thread. through these kids who get great at instruments.
Totally. I know a lot of stories about people with guitar that are like immobilized from an injury, immobilized because they're taking care of their parent or whatever. Like there's a reason that they're like stationary
their
for
life.
like hours and they just have like repetitive.
But it also takes a certain like, I'm guessing, but it's relief in some way. So you're not participating in a whole lot of stuff to put that much time into it. Because I would play the drums. I played the drums.
Right.
But after like 40 minutes, I would think like, oh, fuck, I want to go to get some coffee with my buddy Aaron. You know, like I want to get out and do shit. I wasn't yet dark enough to really be in my room that long. I don't think.
I know people who've gotten like I think John Mayer may have gotten like super good at guitar by kind of just hanging out in his room. And and I know people who have, and I also know people who are kind of like, I did that and like now I do something else, you know, whatever, you know, who like just love it, but like they didn't become a guitarist because of it.
Right. But it is interesting because there's a lot of times the attributes that lead to these gifts, be it guitar or any kind of virtuoso musically, or even actors, right? It's really weird because the thing they did to get famous per se has not prepared them at all for being famous, because it was really an introvert's pursuit.
Totally.
And I think even to some degree, a lot of actors, I think Jim Carrey spent hours in front of that mirror, just like you would with a guitar.
Totally.
And now all of a sudden the result of that is like this super extroverted pursuit, and you are not equipped for that.
Totally.
And I notice this a lot. I've met a lot of actors that have become really successful, and you immediately through success occupy this kind of alpha role, like you're the popular guy in high school. But so often these people weren't the popular guy in high school, right? So they're now, I recognize why so many artists end up feeling fraudulent, or that they've occupied this space that they just weren't trained to do. They weren't the guy getting tons of ass in high school, and now they're getting all these girlfriends, but then they're insecure in these relationships because that's not what they did, and it's just all kind of confusing.
Totally. And there's like nobody like hands you a handbook,
the playbook.
Like, like this is the way to.
Nor is anyone even being honest about the fact that like, oh wow, I occupy this space that I'm not super comfortable in, because it kind of breaks the illusion.
Totally.
You don't want to do that.
I mean, I think that one of the benefits for us, at least, or like as a band, has been like, it's never really been an easy, because we're like pop and rock, and like it doesn't really work in any of them, and every song that like has ever been successful for us, like along the way someone's like, this is not gonna work, you know, like so there's never been a like this, like there's never been a like sure thing. That's been helpful because you constantly still feel like you're on the outside, you know what I mean?
Yeah and so that makes me think of a question I had, which is were you trying to make music that you thought would work, or were you trying to just make the music you wanted to hear, or was it some of it was in pursuit of success and some was just like, oh, this is a song I want to hear? Totally.
Good question. So like when it first started going, we got really disillusioned with like the scene of music we were in. And so we were just like, let's just play something that's like do stuff that's like irreverent and fun.
Yeah.
More irreverent than
because it got a little hoity toity.
Yeah, whatever. And so it wasn't
and little preachy.
Yeah.
During that whole period, I remember 85% of the conversations among the people in the scene was like, who was a sellout? Like that was such a big thing. And there was like as if it had an actual definition.
And it's like so goofy.
It's really
so
funny.
Goofy.
Yeah.
But it was all fun. And then we put out this record where we
being Arma
or Fall Out Boy.
Okay.
So like we put out this album that we like literally had 10 songs, and that was like the whole album, or maybe it was 11 songs, and that was it, because that was the only ones we knew how to play. And we recorded it at this studio in Madison, Wisconsin, Smart Studio, where they like recorded Nirvana and Garbage and all this stuff.
Oh wow.
But we had no money, you know, like, and our parents weren't really supporting, like they supported us, but they were like not like shoveling money at us playing in a punk rock band, you know, all the time.
Right.
And so
probably wisely.
Yeah. But I remember they would get every week at the studio, they'd get a case of Coke and a case of Sprite for us. And one day we were like, instead of getting like the case of Sprite, can we just get peanut butter and jelly? And they were like, sure, because we just didn't have any money and we were sleeping on the floor or whatever. And so it becomes like, you know, like it's like one of those things where you're like, well, I want to make music that I want to make, but at the same time, I know that I'm making art in a pop art venue, so that there's certain kind of rules or what, not rules, but there's like, if you're going to do that, like, and a lot of people are going to listen to it. Yes, you need to like kind of just think about that when you're making
even if you're writing movies, minimally they have to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
A lot of people trick themselves into thinking they don't need that, but they fucking need that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's the difference between like being like, I'm writing like or I'm making like a big movie or I'm making like an art house film, you know, like
slice of life.
which is cool. You just got to like know what you're making and why you're making it, and you know
what people are going to respond to.
It's weird. It's a little weird for a band, I think, and I think about this because I kind of get jealous of actors, but I don't know that this is a real thing or whatever. Is like
we were talking about this on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
You and I.
Which one? Which thing?
Which is we all want to be each other. Like
we want to be each other.
Yeah.
Which we were talking
jealous
about.
Of me. I'm jealous of musicians.
Totally. Yeah, because everybody wants to be what they're not.
Well, one thing I think of all the time is like, I can't re-release without a paddle every weekend. I will never profit from that again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if I had written Brown Sugar, I can play that till I fucking die.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'm a little envious of that.
But so what? It's interesting because I think my jealousy might be even like, it's not exact opposite, but it's like, I can't go and make like an art house movie and then make like a
Big
tentpole movie, because like every movie, like if quote unquote, if we're calling like the things that I do movies, everyone has to be like a big one, or people are like, you fucked up.
Done.
You've screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, like
because you have to be so blatantly avant-garde. Like,
and so we've
you're
done
getting
that
together with Neil Peart.
Totally. And we've done that stuff before, you know, like where you're like, this is literally.
And you're trying to send some pretty clear signals. Like, don't judge me by the old bar.
But that's the thing that I get jealous of. And also like it's less so with music, but with like acting, like you're playing a character and then you can like kind of like leave that character and go play a different character or whatever. Whereas with music, it's like, well, it's like a character named me that like looks like me.
And you can change your hair, but it better stay kind of
in the ballpark.
Edgy.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
if it's short, it better be really short. If
it's that was like the Metallica thing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Did you guys party?
We weren't a big partying band. We came. So I think that it was like two-pronged. Was that we came from like the hardcore scene where like that wasn't like really the thing, like of the bands that we used to see, like they weren't big party bands. Yeah, there
was a ton of like straight edge bands.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then we also had grown up on like, we were like, I think the first generation bands that grew up on like the Behind the Music, and you saw like they were all like, there's none of them end well when you know what I mean? They're all like,
suffice to say they don't make one unless you fucking shit the bed.
Yeah, totally.
At some point. Yeah.
And so we didn't, you know,
and
like
you guys would actually talk about that, like, hey, we gotta kind of keep our shit together. No
one was really a partier in the band. Like I think that we don't need to jump ahead, but like I ended up like self-medicating myself because of anxiety and stuff. But that was different. It wasn't in a like party app. It wasn't in a like, let's rage. We just weren't that like it just wasn't the band we were, and we didn't even have to talk about it. We were like these nerdy, dorky guys.
Yeah, but okay. So I was watching the Behind the Music of Ted Nugent. I remember like 15 years ago,
because he wasn't. I think
he never has drank, right? And I'm like, that's so confusing. But then he says in so many words, I was addicted to pussy. He's like, that was how he partied, and that was morning till night,
right?
He fucking adopted his second wife or something from Hawaii. Unbelievable.
Right.
There's got to be like some outlet to it all. So are you at least you guys are into girls? Not even.
I mean, I think a little bit, but like not in a crazy, it didn't, like maybe we were addicted to doing the band, you know, like maybe we were like just doing it all the time and flying, you know, like,
by the way, that's awesome.
Yeah, saying
that's great.
Never saying, you know, no to shows and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, we just didn't, because it did become like when I did start like prescribing myself stuff for like anxiety stuff, then it did get like weird and whatever. But like at the time, no, it was just like we were just these like dudes in a van that would like quote movies to each other. It was just like not that cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You weren't there for the lifestyle. You were there for the music more, right?
Well, I mean, and the lifestyle just like wasn't a thing
part of
really.
it.
Well, it just wasn't like, I don't know. It was
you have to cultivate it, I assume.
Yeah.
But I can imagine being you and then all of a sudden being on tour and like being successful and go, wait, where's the party? Like, isn't this supposed to be some gigantic party?
It just like, it like never really was. Maybe that's like the
That's
like
pretty
thing.
great though.
Yeah.
I mean, I
guess
feel like
so.
you guys are probably
But you know
lucky.
what? Yeah. I mean, I think that so when we moved, so we did an album where we lived in the Oakwoods, and I would literally, this is so sad, I would put a blanket over my head in my apartment at the Oakwoods, and I'd be like, this is what it's going to be like when you're dead. Only you can't even think of this. You know what I mean? Like you have the blanket and it's just pure dark, but like you can't even, there's no, it's even worse because you're not even going to be able to think this is what it's like when you're dead.
Yes.
And it was like, that's how dark the Oakwood and like that was. And so I got a house here. And when I got the house
What year is this?
I would say this is either 05 or 06.
Okay.
And when I got the house here, there was like parties because like we didn't go to college, you know, like we weren't like, so this was like making up for that. And it was always like themed parties and my like neighbors hated me and like just all like, you know.
But even at that point, like the friends that I know you have at least that I'm aware of are like Seth Green, you're friends with him, right?
Yeah.
So you're the crew of people you're kind of surrounding yourselves with aren't the degenerate ones
No,
either.
it's pretty dorky.
Yeah,
you know, it's all pretty
but in
dorky.
a very fun, cool way.
Yeah, fun and goofy.
So in 2001, you formed Fall Out Boy. You guys, you and Andy and Joe and Patrick, right? And how quickly do you become super successful? Is it abrupt or is it gradual?
No, it's super gradual. Like we played so many shows where there was like 5 kids. The other bands were there. We didn't get paid. We got paid in pizza. Like, you know, like it was, there's a place in Bakersfield. I think Jerry's Pizza. I can't remember, but we got paid in pizza and like we just played shows and like the internet wasn't what it is now. So we would sometimes show up at shows and they were like, the show is canceled. And we're like, oh, awesome. Like, you know, like can't even find that out. And then so then what happened was we started to get bigger with kids. So like in like, you know, dorm rooms or whatever, like file sharing, honestly, like MP3, this website that doesn't exist anymore, mp3.com, Napster. And so we were like this band that was like, every one of our shows started to be like shut down by like the fire marshal and stuff, you know, or whatever, like where they were like,
and were you
riots.
playing colleges and stuff?
We were playing like Knights of Columbus's and like wherever we could play. But like it was, and I think it would be like akin to like give somebody, it's akin to like what's going on with Lil Uzi or like some of these hip hop guys right now, where it's just every show was like, well, we didn't finish our set most of the time because it was like fire marshal or we'd get shut down or like a near riot. Like we, there was this store Hollister used to so it was big. It was big to do in stores like at the time, and so this store Hollister, which was like kind of like the surf version of Abercrombie and Fitch. I don't know if it still exists.
I loved it.
I bet you did.
I really loved it. I spent a lot of money there.
They would do they would let us play in stores, and a lot of those in stores there was a zillion rules. Like you can't go here, you can go here, you can't whatever. Yeah. But the Hollister, they were like, play. And so we would have people get on literal surfboards on top of the crowd. I had a friend who like got on board, put on board shorts and got on like, and it was just like in a mall and it was just, and it was literal mayhem. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was interesting because at the same time, like your average Joe radio guy, label, mom and dad have no idea who we are. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like this like weird thing where you're like in between. And that's kind of what was the tipping point that like turned it into the mainstream because like we wouldn't get played on the radio otherwise because the songs were not radio songs. Yeah. Or whatever. So then when it did happen, it happened fast. Like it went 0 to 60 then. You know what I mean? Like it was like a long build up, but then like when it happened, it happened. Well, I
similarly was auditioning for 9 years, got nothing, then got punked, and then it was overnight. But they kept saying overnight, but I was like, well, but it's not overnight because I've been doing this for
and you have to tell people this all the time.
Yes. But in fact, it was over. When it did happen, it was completely overnight.
But it feels weird when people say like overnight and you're like, well, I had like a zillion years of like really sad, like Denny's moment. You know, like it's just not.
People just see you appear and they're like, oh, where'd they come from? They're brand new. They like, must have just,
overnight mainstream success, I guess.
Yeah. And then I think there's also just for a lot of us, on some level in our brain, we go, well, this isn't, because as much as I fought the overnight thing, it is true that within a year of punked, I had bought my first house, which we still currently live in, and
Right.
my then girlfriend and I were like laying on the floor in front of the fireplace, like the first night we ever slept there. And I was looking around and I was like, this doesn't feel right. This is not how it works. Like where I'm from in Michigan, I would have had to build my way up to this house with 4 other houses.
Right.
This is bizarre.
Right.
And it did feel incongruent with what I thought was supposed to happen.
Totally.
But
I think that, no, and I would think that at times. And there was like times when the thing that to me that's weird, because I like really do think of myself as like the, you know, like the 14, 15-year-old kid or whatever. But like the times like when like the perspectives are like forced together for some reason, like where you're out and you know, like there's things that like force
You
all
to
of it.
recognize.
Yeah, and it's weird, right? Because
Yes.
you're like all of a sudden standing there and you're like, well, this person, you know, like I have kids that come up to me and they're like, you know, Andy Hurley's the reason I play drums. And I'm like, Andy Hurley, like the like shitty kid I met in Milwaukee,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but then
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, like this
Yes.
kid like
Yeah.
sits in his room and like pretends to be Andy Hurley, you know, like, and it's just a weird thing that
Yeah,
forces your perspective.
It is very weird. And then I don't know if you've done this, but there was a moment where like 5 Academy Awards ago, I had been in a comedy troupe for years and we could not get 50 people to come to the shows, right? And in this comedy crew, it was myself, Melissa McCarthy, Ben Falcone, Nat Faxon, Octavia Spencer, Tate Taylor. And there was an actual Academy Awards where The Help was nominated that Tate had directed. Melissa was nominated for Bridesmaids. Octavia Spencer was nominated for The Help. And Nat Faxon was nominated for writing The Descendants.
Right.
And it was this 2-layered thing where one, I was like, this is mind blowing. We were on this comedy crew and no one would come see us. And then the excitement immediately gave way to, oh, so all these people I've been revering and worshiping are just human beings and they're normal guys. And maybe it took the whole thing down a notch for me.
Yeah.
So when you hear a kid say to you that they started playing drums because of your, as you say, your dipshit buddy from high school, doesn't it kind of put everything in perspective a little bit? Like, wow, so I guess John Bonham was also a dipshit in high school. You know what I'm saying? Does that
totally.
happen to you?
Well, yeah, because I mean, and it's like, I think about it, and it like does it somewhat, but then I'll watch like, so I watched that Spielberg movie and I'm like, wow, this guy did like, if I think of like, I did like 1% of like the stuff, like he's done that like over and over, like to keep making gold, like to keep touching and making gold, or to keep like the superhuman.
Yeah, I agree with you that there is definitely a strata of geniuses, and I'm not saying I'm less impressed now with Francis Ford Coppola for doing Godfather, but there's a huge spectrum of people that you are falling in the middle of, and for some kid, you are fucking the Metallica bass players.
I can't get there in my head.
Yeah, but it's true.
But do you think ever, because like there's the like the Coppola, Lucas, what was their class? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, wow, it's like, is there like other versions of that? You know, like, are there other versions of it and it just hasn't like gone on long enough, or like blockbusters had become like, you know, like,
well, we're sitting in a neighborhood, right, that was built by one director, Cecil B. DeMille, where he owned this whole area.
And he owned the park, right, too, or something?
Yeah, I mean, you just can't imagine being bigger. I think even in, or even take someone like Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was the biggest box office star 8 out of 10 years in a row. That will never, ever happen again. So there were things that, people
just
did get bigger.
Totally.
Unrelated, but my favorite biography is Titan. It's about John D. Rockefeller.
Okay.
And one way to think of him is the first man to ever make $1 billion. And if you equate $1 billion from 1915 to now, it really means he was worth like $20 billion. But that's not an accurate way to think of his wealth. Really, you have to think about what the entire amount of wealth in America was at that time. And he basically had about 20% of all known wealth. So now if you would compare that, that's someone who has trillions of dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Insane.
Yeah, it's not like a direct proportion up to. By the way, Monica, you're gonna have your hands full with that statement.
I know.
Monica
A fact
listens to
check.
what I say, and then she corrects me after the podcast.
Okay, got it.
So I'm sure I just spouted a ton of shit that's inaccurate. But yeah, I do think sometimes there are people that you'll never have again. You won't have Spielberg again, I don't think.
But I don't don't know. I just think there's time. We will never know until we have enough time.
Well, there'll never be a
distance.
TV show like Roseanne or Cosby because there was 3 networks
Yes,
and they were literally
times change.
38 million people
That's
a week
true.
were watching
Right.
it. And that just won't happen
That is
again.
true.
Totally.
That is true.
Which is probably healthy.
But
whatever.
genius level, I mean, not in the actual way we consume,
Right.
and those types of things. But
Yeah, because like Get Out or whatever, like there's these things, but are we allowing like people to like incubate enough because you can like broadcast all the time? I don't know.
It's
like
true.
it's just you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like if we had played our first like, and not to put whatever, but if we had played our first show in front of the internet or in front of whatever,
Yeah.
it'd be bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like we didn't figure it out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like
that's true.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about because we both, even though we're in such different occupations, there are parallels, right? So there will be times where I'll be lamenting about how much the film business has changed, how much television's changed, and how I missed the golden era, right?
Right.
And then on another day, I go, well, no, but I did get to experience a lot better version of it. So really, I should just be grateful that I did. You know, when I was in Without a Paddle that year, I think Paramount had released 12 movies. Well, last year they released 4.
Right.
And at that same time, every studio was releasing 15 movies. So they were making, you know, a couple hundred movies through all these studios. Well, now there's less studios. They make a third of what they used to make. So in a way, I'm lucky as a motherfucker. So you, I would imagine, at times have to lament, had you been the same exact band, Fall Out Boy, in the 80s, you probably would have sold 40 million albums.
totally. Yeah. No.
What have you guys sold? You know, all day, like all
maybe
in?
20 million?
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that
I would not
I
have
don't
thought
know.
it was that high, even
Yeah.
though I recognize
But
you
I-
guys
yeah,
are
but I don't-
hugely successful.
But I don't know.
So so you would have sold 100 million.
Yeah,
albums.
maybe. Yeah.
And you at times go like, God, this.
Yeah,
This is
sometimes.
unfair.
Yeah, sometimes I do, but I think of it in the way that like I'm like, well, music, as all arts, like so, like there was a point when music was basically a guy going door to door selling sheet music, you know, door to door,
Okay.
and then like you know when records came out, that guy was like, music's over, like we're never gonna, you know, whatever, and like. Or, you know, I think about it with rock music all the time because, you know, I was reading, I can't remember whose book it is, but, you know, there was a time when like sousaphone music, like marching bands, like they were like, this is the biggest music. And now we know like one guy.
Well, yeah, there's
You know
a
what I mean?
really also deep tradition right all along the Mississippi where jazz was traveling from Chicago down to New Orleans
Totally.
because those bands were so popular and
Totally.
they'd be on the river boats and
Totally.
Yeah.
And now it's like relegated to, you know, and it's like, I think it just keeps moving forward for us, or for me, it's a little weird because we like straddle kind of like 2 eras. Like there was an era where we, you know, I got all the plaques and
you got
people were on the
multi-platinum albums.
Yeah, people were on the jets, and you know, like I
Yeah.
saw the tail end of that.
Yeah.
But then like the internet, like our band wouldn't be what we were without the internet. And so like it's both, and it's really interesting because now like on our new record, there was this like group of guys in Lagos in Nigeria and who I really like their music. There's this guy Mr. Easy and this guy Burna Boy, and it's like a whole scene. And I like talked to this guy Burna Boy on WhatsApp, and it was great because like I talked to him and he's like, man, you better not be fucking with me. I brought Fall Out Boy to Nigeria in 2011. Like all this like dope. I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But like we couldn't have done that, you know. Like
Yeah.
and then he like we worked together, you know. And like you couldn't.
Yes.
access.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You would. There's no
For
way to
the
do
art,
that.
I think it's gotten probably
Pretty cool.
really better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the
But-
thing
but-
that I worry about, like you can maybe answer this, 'cause I think about this all the time, is that like does a movie, like how do you get a movie like E.T. made now?
No, you can't.
You can't,
No,
right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the only hope currently is that Netflix has said they're going to make 80 movies and spend $3 billion. That if in fact that happens, that will be amazing because they are committed to making the movies that used to get made. Because there's this whole section of movies now that don't get made, these, you know, $40 million dramas. Even I got really sad this Christmas. I was watching Home Alone with my daughter,
So good.
and it's such a great movie.
It is.
Totally.
And everyone saw it in a movie theater. You couldn't have seen it at home.
Totally.
And you had that shared experience. And I got like heartbroken that A, they don't really even make those movies. There's not stars like that can drive those movies. And then no one even goes to the movie theater. And I was like, God, that is heartbreaking to me. But again, it'll be replaced by something that my kids will have
Exactly.
the same level of fondness for. And I have to constantly remind myself of that because I'll get depressed about all that.
Yeah, like my older kid doesn't he's always like, well, what was the Wi-Fi like when you were little? And like all this stuff. Like, and it's just because there's no, you know what I mean? Like, and it's so interesting because like, you know, like I'll talk to other friends that are like more my age and they're like, I wish there was like more tangible stuff and like record stores. And I'm like, they never had that. So they don't care.
Yeah. Well, even the thing I tripped out on is that on a cell phone, currently still, when you hit the send button, it is a picture of an old phone, right? And I was thinking that to them, that graphic doesn't even make sense.
No.
That doesn't even, there's no reason it's shaped
my
like
kid
that.
picks up a house phone. I'm picking up my cell phone and he looks into it like he's FaceTiming. Like it just doesn't, where I can't hear what they're saying. You know, like it's just a different thing.
So as I understand it, because I don't know a ton about the music industry, but as I understand it, what replaced record sales is touring. That's where now bands generate most of their money. Is that accurate?
Yes. I think that
if you had to give a percentage of how much revenues is generated by the tour versus your sales, what is that percentage?
I think, and I'm not a good numbers guy, but I think it would be tours and merchandise would be like 60 or 70. Maybe it's 60 because like there's also like brands obviously want to be involved in music.
Well,
you're
licensing your music, obviously,
and syncs and stuff like that. We're a band that still we get streamed and we sell albums, so it's like a mix.
Because you have a lot of old fucking fans.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's really weird. So it's like a mix, and we have to appeal to like a casual fan, and like a kid who's just like, I really only want to hear it on a playlist. So
well, and again, you would know this way better than I, but there's a couple genres of music where that genre base didn't evolve the way. So country, I think, still sells albums.
They sell albums. They sell CDs. They sell physical albums.
Yeah, they do. They sell CDs.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
so let me ask you this. Eventually, you guys do become quite large and you enter the zeitgeist, and I'm aware of you, even though I'm not even listening to that type of music anymore. Right. And how do four guys in their 20s share that experience? I just imagine myself in that moment having to share my acting success with three other people. And in my 20s, I could not have done it.
It's wild, man. It's wild on every level. I'm surprised no one ever really asked that question. It's wild because it's wild for a couple reasons. So it's wild because, like in the negative way, where that immediately, anytime you get any kind of success in entertainment, all of a sudden there's all these people around who are like, well, what, like make this thing with me, you know, like or whatever. But they're saying it to like four different people. So they're like saying it like you don't need him to do it like you do, you know, whatever.
And that was happening.
That was happening for sure.
Also, through no effort of y'all's, some people are just popping.
Yes.
Which is just the nature of like an ensemble TV show.
Yes.
Some people are just whatever.
Yes.
They pop. And you're one of the people, right? You kind of were inordinately popular for being the bass player of the band.
Absolutely.
And is it because you're so cute?
I have no idea.
I'll fact check that.
Yeah, fact check that.
You got to go out and ask like 15 women.
But yeah, and it's a little weird, but at the same time, like Patrick and me like make one good rock star together because he like doesn't want to do any of the stuff.
He doesn't.
No, he like doesn't.
Meaning like all the promotion.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do any
stuff.
of it. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to talk.
Why? Because he's just so
he shy?
self-assured and confident. He doesn't need that approval and attention.
I think it's like an introverted thing.
Okay.
More
He's
so.
just not comfortable.
Yeah, he didn't want to do it. And now it's like evened out a little bit more. But at the time it was like, he was like, you can be like my avatar for that. You know?
Okay,
whatever.
great. So initially he was supportive of that.
I
like,
think
go
he
ahead.
was.
If you're willing to do it, fucking please. Go
I don't
get
think
him.
he ever really.
He never minded that you.
There's probably there's some shit where like you're like in an interview and you're like, just stop asking these questions and ask, just stop asking about this guy's personal life or something, like, or whatever.
Well, I'm sure you've had the situation, and I've had it a ton. When you go on a talk show with a couple other members of the movie, they're going to put someone right next to the talk show host.
Yes.
And that's basically, they're telling you who's the most popular in that group. So
and then they go out.
Like, I remember when we were promoting Without a Paddle, I sat on the third every single time. It was Seth Green and then Lillard and then me. And by the end of a 4-week promotional tour, I was so insecure about the fact that I was on the fucking
it's
sidelines.
But then
you're on Letterman or you're on these things and you're still
absolutely.
It just never goes away.
And you tell yourself, I told myself, oh, if I ever got that level of attention, that would be enough. But it's never, ever enough.
It's never enough.
It's kind of liberating to know that.
It's never enough.
It's a black hole. And I wanted to talk to you
can't
about this,
feel
but
it.
maybe in a little bit. But yeah, had you read Sid Arthur when you were a kid? Like, did you have to read it for school?
Wait, what is that? Is that the...
It's the Herman Hesse book about
yes, probably,
Buddha,
but
right?
It's Buddhist, right?
Yes, and ultimately his realization, the way he finds all of his answers is through gluttony. He like lives as a monk for a long time, then he does this, and then he moves to the city and he becomes wildly famous and not famous, but successful and rich and fat.
Yeah.
And it's weirdly through that experience that he found his way to his truth.
Right.
And I do think if you have the same hangups and insecurities that I have, it's so fortunate to have the access to recognize, oh, wow, so that's not, because I think I would have died believing that level of approval and attention would have made me feel good.
And you can't feel it.
And I would have been chasing
it
forever.
It's not
you can't
real.
feel it. You can't feel it. You know what I mean?
No,
it's not.
You never internalize it. It doesn't make you feel better about yourself.
No.
Yeah.
Because I thought about it before. I'm like, if you have a Grammy, if you have this amount of, none of it. It just doesn't.
Yes.
Because anytime you get it, you're like, well, that's fine, but that's not, and it's like, I don't know.
Now I need the next thing.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
I
I'm
need the
gonna
next thing.
go straight to that then.
Yeah.
So for me, that moment was crystal clear. I had tried to get sober a bunch of times. I could manage getting sober while I worked for the most part. I think for Without a Paddle, I was sober up until the last 2 weeks,
Right.
and then I was sober for Idiocracy, and then I was I went on vacation. This was my last week of drinking. 2004 September 1st is when I quit, but I went on this vacation because I was about to start this movie Zathura, and I had just finished doing a movie that Mike Judge directed, and I was about to do a movie that Jon Favreau was directing. And I got so annihilated this whole week in Hawaii, and I smoked crystal meth, and I did coke,
Right.
and I got in a car accident, and I was so physically sick by the time I got on the plane to go back home, and I had a layover in San Francisco. And I was sitting at a bar because I could not get on the next flight unless I had like 6 more drinks. I was just physically dying. And I'm in the corner of this bar, and I'm so nervous that someone from AA is going to see me at the airport drinking. And I'm in the way I've got myself in the corner of this bar, it's a mirror next to me, and I just feel as bad as I've ever felt in my life. And I go, holy shit, I'm doing the thing I've been trying to do for 10 years. I'm acting in movies. I have money. I have more money than I thought I was ever going to have.
Right.
These are all the things I told myself my whole life. If I had, I'd feel good and I'd feel happy.
Right.
And I felt the worst I've ever felt. And it was the scariest moment in my life. And that was finally the time I was like, something's severely broken and I have to confront it and fix it, because I really had believed if I had Jim Carrey's career, I would love myself. I would feel great about myself. I would be happy. And it's very scary yet very liberating to recognize, oh, Jesus, those things don't make you feel different.
Totally.
And you had a similar experience, didn't you?
Yeah.
Around the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, so my stuff was, I had crazy, I think that when the band was on the precipice of getting big in the mainstream, because we were big with kids or whatever, that created all this kind of anxiety in me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't fly, I couldn't do anything. And so like I started just taking like benzos, like kind of like Xanax. And it was prescribed to me at first. And by the way, I tried all this other stuff too. I did like hypnotherapy and all this other stuff that's like laid under the blanket, all, like all this stuff. And it just none of it did anything, And so I kind of like self-medicated and all that stuff. And for me, my thing, like my own personal, and I guess everybody's thing is completely different or whatever, but like when I had my older kid full time, I was like, oh my God, this is like a little human being that like I'm in charge of. And it was like my moment where I was like, you have to like get your shit together, because like you can't like make
it's time
pancakes. You can't like be dead. You can't, like it's like you can't, that's not like an option. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so that's like, to me, if without that, I wouldn't have like been able to.
Although a lot of people because I've watched a million people try to get sober.
Yeah.
A lot of people do tell themselves that when they have that kid, that's going to be the thing that's going to shift them away from that.
Right.
And I've seen more times than not that actually adds to the issue because now there's even more stress, more fear, more pressure. And you even need more an escape from these fears.
Yeah. So the band had taken time off.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were taking like a hiatus. And it's weird because it's like kind of like, you know, every day you get up and you're like this is who I am. So it's like the band and like it feels
that's your identity.
It's my identity.
Yeah.
And like that's removed from you.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Right. And I'm living in New York. I end up breaking up with my first wife and so like I was at the lowest it could have been, but I had this like 2-year-old guy that was like with me and I didn't have like a nanny. My parents don't live out here. Like it was just like, we just hung out. It was like a buddy thing. You know, I mean, we would go to
like a Sandler movie.
Yeah, we would exactly. We would go to like Travel Town, and we would go to like, and it was really, and it was like one of those things where also like, and I think I was probably projecting this, but I would be having like little Yoda moments with him where I'm like, you're teaching me so much about myself. You know, like, Like I probably was, you know, like he probably, you know, like just a kid who just says stuff, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But like for me, it was all, you know, and I think that. Yeah, I mean, for me, that's what it was. For me, it was like, it couldn't have gotten, like, my life couldn't have gotten any lower. Like, it was, like, I was never...
do you recall how many, what were you taking, Xanax or Ativan? Xanax,
yeah.
And how many were you taking a day? A lot of people don't know this about benzos. They're like, and this is weirdly the big kind of secret that's going on in this opiate epidemic. It's sure, the opiates are an issue, but most times people are mixing an opiate and a benzo.
It's going to be
so many people are addicted to benzos, and it's really not public knowledge.
It's going to be a really big problem for this generation.
It is, and it's one of the hardest ones to detox from. Yeah. I've seen friends in a coma with their heart rate at 180 because they're detoxing and they're in a coma. So that's a gnarly one to be on a lot.
Yes, I was taking it mostly to go to sleep, I think, and I would take it like so they come as, you know, footballs, or they come as the bar, and I could take like a half a bar or 3/4 of a bar.
What do you think at that time was the source of all this anxiety? Do you think just biochemically you're predisposed to anxiety?
Yes.
But
I think
that there's a family condition.
I don't think so, because I don't. If it is, it's not.
They've
discussed,
somehow gotten
or whatever.
through
Yeah, or
it.
something. Yeah. But I also think that, like, you know, whatever you want to call it, like entertainment, stardom, like all that stuff, like that doesn't help it, that like enhances it.
Right.
I think that like being in a successful thing in a weird way is, you know, because I see it with like, you know, Bieber or whoever it is, like where you're like, people just, they don't want you to get better. They want your like head above water. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to be like, because cured is in a lot of times a problem. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, because then.
And you can tell yourself, I certainly did. I was nervous that if I wasn't fucked up and wasn't working double time to make up for the fact that I was fucked up, that I actually wouldn't be funny or wouldn't be creative or whatever. I did come to think of it as like, oh, this is part of the whole process.
Yeah. Totally. And my thing was scary. Like, with like writing lyrics, whatever, like if you're not like a bummed out guy, like what will people like you or whatever. Yeah. And then like it's some, like for me, it was really this kid, because I was just like, you just gotta like.
But did you get help aside from that?
Not really. Well, I mean, I talked to therapists.
Okay.
Yes, I did talk to therapists, but a lot of times I would think I would either omit, or I thought it was like bullshit. And there were some that were really helpful, and I had friends that were really helpful. But no, I didn't. Like, it was literally,
you were just trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and it was like,
and from a mental place, it's probably not the most objective.
Totally. Yeah. But I think also, like, I was like, well, you don't have a band. You basically hang out by yourself with a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the time where you can like just figure it out. You know what I mean? Right. Because like, and I also think that like the one of the things that actually helped it a lot was I had atrophied. Like, the thing that people don't really talk about is like, you atrophy basic adult things when you're like in your band or whatever. Like, I didn't know how to get through an airport. I was like, I follow a backpack through the airport.
Oh,
like,
right,
you
right.
atrophy these things that
you
like
get infantilized.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, totally. And you're like, I don't go to the store. Or I don't go
your life to other people.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, and in some ways it was like helpful when you have too much stuff, because you're like, you don't want to micromanage all this stupid stuff. But you know, like I was at the point where I was like, you should just do all this stuff. Like, you don't need the help doing it. And I think that like in taking that back, it like probably helped. I also think that like when you're like, it can't get any worse, sometimes like that's, for me, it was helpful because I was like, there's nowhere else to go really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no like,
Yeah.
you know, like there's no.
Yeah. When I've quit, and even if I'm quitting like cigarettes, which I had done a million times, there is some comfort in going, today's miserable, but this is the most miserable. So tomorrow will be like marginally less miserable.
Totally.
And then so on and so on, hopefully.
I also never had like shaking. Like I never had the like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna.
You didn't have to get well, as they say.
No.
You could function without.
Yeah.
Okay.
And mine was like,
did you replace this with anything else? Are you on anything that's good now that helps you?
like I work out and I get like, I'm the kind of person that gets really into something. I think we might talk about this. I get really into something for like 3 months, like where I'm like, I got to know everything about this thing. And then like people ask me about it a year later. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't, you know, like,
yeah.
But, and so I think I did some of that. But yeah, I mean, like more so I think, cause I do like talk to people about it and I know it's like different kind of, cause I think it's just different for everybody, how you figure yourself out and how you navigate.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
well, also again, based on too, that's why I'm saying, so like Kristen, who's very, very open, which I applaud, about having depression, and she's on a SSRI inhibitor, right?
Right.
And that's a biochemical thing, right? It's not that she had trauma so much in her childhood. Mine's kind of, I believe, who knows, a lot of trauma induced. Right. I was molested. Right. If you're molested, you have an 80% chance of being an addict. Right. So that seems like that ship sailed probably early. And so your own personal struggles, do you think are biochemical or maybe derived from trauma or?
No, I think biochemical.
Yeah. And is there shame in that? For Kristen, there was shame, and then she kind of owned it, and now there's like a lot of strength in it.
I think that there was like maybe, 10 years ago, it was like you don't really like talk about this kind of stuff publicly, you know, but everybody or a lot of people kind of deal with all of it. So like that's what's weird about it is you don't talk about it. Yeah. So there's like a stigma to it, and like maybe, I don't know if it's from like being in a band or being a guy or whatever, like there's like a weakness thing to it probably or whatever.
Well, remember even The Sopranos, like Tony Soprano had to keep it very private.
Like totally.
He went to therapy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean.
But to me, I find it far more inspirational. Like I find it far more inspirational that Jim Carrey maybe is wrestling with a ton of shit and it's not easy for him.
It's humanizing.
It is, and it makes me feel like, okay, great. We're all kind of, this is challenging for all of us, just being a human on planet Earth. So I don't feel so like, well, fuck, Jim Carrey just wakes up and he's super prolific and funny and all these things, and why aren't I that way? I just find it way more comforting to know that Pete Wentz struggles like everyone else, and I also think it's helpful to know that like you're not going to get a promotion that's going to fix everything. No. You're not going to hit a goal of making X amount of money and that's going to fix anything. No. And if you can share that and I can share that, I think you can go like, oh, well, maybe I need to be focusing on maybe like for you, and I have a very similar experience. You have Bronx. Yeah. And you recognize there's not enough time in this day for me to be thinking about all my problems all day long and get him ready and eating and changed and all that stuff, right? It's just, you can't do it. So you're either going to totally neglect this kid or you're going to get out of your own head.
Totally. And I'm like, I don't want you like in therapy for whatever, me not being here, me struggling, like, or whatever.
Do you ever like to think, I like to think, because of course I think I'm doing a great job as a parent. I certainly am giving it a lot more time than say my dad was able to do. Right. And then I like to play the game of like, well, they will be in therapy anyways.
Yes. So but like, what are the specific things? Yeah, I do that all the time.
The one I loved talking about is somehow Kristen had done some work for like Bill Clinton's foundation or whatever it was. The point is, when Lincoln was born, we get this letter in the mail. It is a letter from Bill Clinton welcoming Lincoln to planet Earth. And I'm like, this is so bizarre. And it's framed in our house as you would do. Right. Bill Clinton writes your daughter a letter. And I was thinking she will be in therapy at some time going like, I mean, Bill Clinton wrote a fucking letter. Totally. To welcome me. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Like the expectation. I'm just trying to think of all the things that would come out of that. Like,
totally. Yeah. I think about all those. It's like, and it's all pretty scary because now like at 9, it's so much more, it's so much less like black and white, like this is wrong and this is right. It's so much more like emotional parenting and like letting kids fail. And like I just watched, I don't know, I'm not going to give spoilers because I just watched this Black Mirror Archangel.
I
we
watched it
just
last night.
watched
Yeah,
it.
it's just like
Oh yeah.
watching it and you're like, well, this is all a mess, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a nutshell, the episode is about someone can get an implant in their child so that they can track them and also see what they're seeing. And then, of course, the parent becomes obsessed with everything they're seeing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. It was a very loose metaphor for helicopter parenting.
Yes.
Probably, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
definitely.
So you guys, Fall Out Boy took a big break. Was that?
We did.
Well, before I even ask that, do you guys all share ownership of everything?
Yes.
You do.
Yes. So we do. We're
That
like,
seems generous from some of the members, I have to assume.
yeah. I mean, but I think it.
Because
well,
you write the lyrics?
Yes.
All of them or some of them? Or all of them?
And then Patrick writes almost all the music.
Okay. So Andy and Joe are just on the free ride. They're on the gravy train.
No, Joe definitely started writing music.
Okay.
And Andy is just like the easiest guy to ever be in a band with. He's
Okay.
just like, give me the plane ticket, give me the check, and I like hanging out with you
That's
guys.
kind of the
and I like-
drummer way, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
no,
a
it's
long
great.
tradition
It's
of
like
drummers.
pretty, you know,
Although, except Police, I hear every time that Police try to get back together, Stuart Copeland and Sting fight nonstop, like from the second
yeah,
they
I can
start.
imagine
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But we'd heard that, you know, like that you two split it evenly, and it just seemed like it was like one of those ones because we were, dude, when we started, we were just like these guys in a van.
You don't actually think in that moment that I'm going to be giving up
Sharing
at the end of the
whatever.
day a ton of money.
Right.
Right.
And it ended up being
Certainly easier for the band when it's that way.
Yeah,
right?
it ended up being super helpful for the band, super healthy for the band. And the thing that I didn't say really get to say was that when the other thing about doing it with like three other guys is that you're like shielded when you're doing anything because you're like, there's these other three guys that
Yeah.
are going through it with me and we can all like, I don't want to answer this guy answers this guy does the solo, this guy, you know,
Yes.
like, and it's like in a weird way. So like that aspect of it is pretty awesome because you're like, there's three other people that basically have the same life experience of me, almost to a T,
Yeah.
with the exception of like 7% for the last, 12 years. Like it's like
Yes.
being on like a submarine with your siblings that like never stops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you like want to like
And
kill
I
each
imagine
other.
too,
but
you
like,
have to cherish, if you're like me at all, you have to cherish the fact that this is the group of guys that knew you before you were Pete Wentz. There's like
Yes.
such value to that, isn't
oh
there?
yes, and hopefully, and I think is the case is that we all treat each other like when we met each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which, with the exception of, I think that when we did take some time off, 3 years off, we like did a reboot, which was like really awesome because
But was there a big fight or was it just,
a
what?
lot of fights,
There
a lot
was
of
a lot
little
of fight.
fights.
Okay.
And a lot of like talking through managers and
Oh, right.
and people are burnt, and like I think Joe wanted to write a bunch more, which he went off and did, and like because he like when we started he was younger than us, and then he became like a writer and a prolific,
Right.
like thoughtful, or whatever, and like there wasn't the space to do that, and so like he wanted the space to do that, and
Yeah.
Patrick wanted to do his own thing, and yeah, it was
When he did his solo stuff and you heard it, where you're like, oh shit, we've been sleeping a little bit on Joe.
I thought like I was like, oh, I didn't know that this guy could play guitar like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Which was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool to also see because like when you go off and do your own things, it's like they're completely different because like it's not being filtered.
Yeah,
through
you
anything.
guys have you have a collective personality as Fall Out Boy, right?
Totally.
But then you obviously all have such dramatically different.
Totally.
Although it does sound like you're all introverts from what I've gathered so
Yeah.
far.
And we're all like dorky and we can all like kind of agree on certain things. But yeah, so like when we took the time off and then when we came back, it was like because when we started doing a band, we weren't kids, but we were like basically kids. And then like you stay like it's like you're frozen in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
my
you're-
best friend from when I was 12, Aaron Weekly, who's still my best friend. The second we're together, I am 12 years
Yeah,
old.
so you're frozen in time.
Yeah. It's
but
so
but all
great.
these things have like, but for us it's weird because it's like it's the person you work with every day, and you're like, but I'm a grown up, and they're like,
Yeah, you're
but like
trying
you're the
to
guy that I met
shift
when
out of it
and you
occasionally.
can't, and
Yeah.
you can't,
Yeah.
And so like when we got to do the hard like kind of reboot, like it was like, oh, everybody's got kids, everybody like you saw each other more.
And was it motivated out of finances originally? Or was it motivated out of like, wow, life was more fun doing that as much as I thought it was a drag?
Yeah, I mean, I think that so Patrick wrote this kind of like open letter blog about kind of how bummed he was, whatever. And I read it and I was like, neat. This is, like, I don't want this guy to feel like this, or whatever. And we started talking, and like, it had to be, to me, it needed to be, and to all of us, I think, it needed to be motivated for by new music. Like to go back and be like a legacy act is whatever. And I think we would have waited if it was like just to be a legacy act. You know what I mean? If it was just purely financial, I think we would have waited because there was time still. Yeah, so like it was about like new music and stuff that would be kind of like exciting.
And you come together and you go, I think we do still have some more creativity
something
left
to
in
say.
us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And how long was that? That was a 4-year break?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
And as you said, your identity is at that point had been 10 years of being this thing. How fucked up were you in those 4 years? Did you feel rudderless or were you scared?
Super fucked up when it started. Like I was like, I don't know what to do. I have no idea at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And pissed.
I would also
and depressed.
imagine leading up to the breakup, you're like, I don't need any of these guys. And then once you're out, you're like, oh shit, I really kind of needed those guys.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And I think that at the time also there was like all these other shifts that were happening. So like EDM became this like all music was, pop music was like, so like there was all these shifts that were happening. The internet was like a super big thing then.
Yes.
And then, like towards the end of the break or the time off, I was like, I like kind of like just being a dad. Like, I don't really want to go back to like getting
you didn't have
lobby calls.
But did you have financial fears at that point? Because I wonder if it's because your dad made a good living and I grew up broke. I like to think I'm so obsessed. I'm so fearful. Even when we have plenty of money, I'm so fearful.
Oh, I'm obsessed with it too.
Oh, you are? Okay, good. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, but no, and I was going to say this earlier because when we were talking about the humanizing thing was that, I'll throw this in there, is that I remember watching, I think it was, or like somebody was talking about it, like Will Smith on Oprah, and he's talking about how he's like worried about money and all stuff. And it's just like, oh wow, if that guy's worried about money, then like I probably will always be worried about money.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there isn't a number that's gonna to fix that. But were you like doing the math daily? Like, okay, I got this much. I'm 30. How old were you? 31?
33, 32. Yeah.
So conservatively, you have 50 more years left.
Yeah, but I think I was like,
You had a clothing line and stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
but I was kind of like, well, I can like live at this spot in the valley, or I could like, I kept like thinking like I could probably, rather than do like, I was like, I don't really, because I think I'd like figured myself out and I'd gotten happy, which is like happiness is like, I don't really know how to explain this to myself 10 years ago. Happiness is better than all of it. So like I was happy. I would like
contentment is so.
I would go to like Travel Town and like I was like, this is like really fun. I really like myself.
Travel Town, by the way, in LA is a train museum, and they have a miniature train that you can ride around with your kid. It's so fun. Yeah.
And I was like, I like myself, and
you were getting self-esteem.
And I'm confident about like I was like, I feel really good being a dad, and I really like I like this. And if I go back to doing the band, will I be gone all the time? Will I be feeling the anxiety? I was like, I don't really want to do that again. Kind of, you know what I mean? Like when I've like figured it out for myself.
Yeah.
So that was worth more than all of the other stuff to me.
Right.
But then like Patrick was bummed, and like we got together, and it was magic. Like the first time we like played together, it was like, for some reason, for whatever it is, like that band, like who we are as 4 people is bigger than the 4 people. You know what I mean? And I don't know why it is.
You
and
guys have rhythm, and I don't mean the
totally. And you can't put like, I don't know why really, but it just,
you're greater than the sum of your parts.
And so like that part of it was great, but there was like definitely like a little bit of a like, when we were putting new music out, I was like, are we like about to torpedo the legacy? You know what I mean? Right. You're like, are we about like, is this not only are we like, like.
But you brought it up earlier, and I will say that this has been a very helpful thing for me to manage my ego, which is you said, oh, I'm under the blanket, and then I think about death, and I go, oh, wow, and you can't even think about it. I constantly tell myself, I'm never even going, well, personally, I believe I'm going to die, and that's it, lights out.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to evaluate my legacy or what people think of me or any of that shit. I will not be here to witness this. And it really helped me go like, none of it fucking matters.
But can you imagine torpedoing it and then having like 30 more years, like where you can, because like my thing is kind of like,
but that's just safety through not trying.
Yes,
You know, so
totally.
like that's an accomplishment. Like doing nothing is not as big of an accomplishment as even destroying the band would be weird.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And so,
But I get it. I imagine the fear. Yeah.
yeah, and
But it just worked.
it worked. But like we were like, it could be like a cult.
And are
thing,
you
we don't
guys
really
bigger
know.
than ever? You play stadiums.
Yeah, so it's bigger than so it's bigger and it's more broad, and it's also just different because 10 years, also like 4 years time off is really like 10 years with the way the internet is now.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
You're
And
talking
so-
about like someone has gone all the way through high school. So you
Yeah.
missed that window of that potential.
Totally.
A whole
Yeah.
generation of people, really.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So
Micro generation.
it's broader than ever and it's bigger. Yeah. And it's bigger than ever.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's like, but I'm like a crazy person, like you were just talking about, where I'm like, every single show, I'm like, this is the one where they're not coming to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Literally every single one. And then when we play, it's great. Like when we're on stage, it's great and whatever. But
I
before
don't want it to happen, but at the same time, I very much want to see your face when you walk out to an arena.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just you guys in the
That will
gym.
never
dude.
happen.
Janitorial staff.
oh, dude. I mean, can we talk? I
Some
mean,
guy
I got-
holding a tray of many hot dogs that'll go unsold.
I mean, that's what I picture.
Do you have nightmares about that kind of thing?
Mine are all like super stressy, like you've like I've killed somebody and nobody
Oh.
knows, or
I have a recurring dream where I have buried a body. Years ago, I've gotten away with it, and there is a construction project now on this island where I built it, and
Yeah.
my whole dream is about getting that body back.
it's insane.
I think that's secrets.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
But I also think that because I also have like lots of ones about my kids and them getting sick or they get shot in the dream.
Sure.
It's all stress dreams. I have a zillion stress dreams.
Before you go, I want to ask you one
Yeah.
question about relationships because you've
Yeah.
had a bunch. I've
Yeah.
had a bunch. And it made me think of it because of knowing those guys and them knowing you and the value that I personally put on that. So I was with a girl for 9 years, Bree, and one of the things that I was heartbroken by and scared of is everything post Bree, someone was going to have potentially been aware of me before they
Right.
met me. And they wouldn't have seen the 1-bedroom apartment for 10 years. And they didn't see the like going to groundlings and renting
Right.
theaters and no one came. And I felt like it was, I don't know why, I just felt like that was so important that that person had
The
done all
history.
that with me.
Right.
And it was so sad to me that whoever I did this with again wasn't in a weird way going to know the real me, or that
Right.
that was my fear of it. So when you got divorced, first of all, was there shame about getting divorced? Did you feel like, oh, this is a failure and everyone knows?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, in the way that like, yeah, I mean, in the way that like no one planned, you like, well, I like my parents weren't, you know what I mean? Like I didn't grow up, like divorce was not
Yeah,
a, like,
right.
was not a like heavy, like I didn't know about a lot of divorces, you know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't like I didn't come from a divorced household and stuff.
Right.
So in that way, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think in like the celebrity way where like
Yeah.
people like talk about it and like
Yeah.
theorize and like everyone, you know,
It's on
and
the
you're just,
magazine.
yeah, and you're just
cover.
kind of like, well, it's none of that stuff, you know, but whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
you're
no.
caught in a weird position where you don't actually want to tell everyone your business.
No.
Yet you want to correct that it's not
Totally.
that business. So you kind of want to go, well, that's not true, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah,
what it is.
totally.
But do you find that you're, because you're kind of a serial monogamous, right? You had like long-term high school girlfriend and then you were
Yeah.
married and then now you and Megan have been together a long time, right?
Yeah.
How long?
8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Do these relationships have a pattern, do you think? Or do you think you broke a pattern with Megan? Or
I think I broke a pattern in the way that like I'm a different person. You know, like I think that the things that I
you
think
move quick, though. Can we say that? You fucking move quick. Because if I recall your Megan story, you guys met and she moved in, right?
Yeah.
She like moved
she didn't
from Ohio.
Well, she
to
did, yeah, because she didn't have
California.
anywhere to go, so it was like stay
Yes.
here. But it
Yeah.
was all
You guys hooked
yeah.
up and she never left.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But but
Did
like
you always move that fast?
no.
No. Okay.
No, but like it was always like monogamy. You know, like
You
it was
don't have
always-
commitment issues.
No,
though, it seems. to
No,
me.
and it was not like yeah. I mean, I think that like with this, I think that you, or at least with me, like one of the things with like having it all be so public, or like maybe it's that you know like figuring it out and trying to be like a good guy for a kid. You're like, well, what are the things that I did? Like, what are the things that are like for sure my, you know, like my issues?
Yes.
Versus what are like some shared issues and which are not my issues, you know, and like trying to like
well,
not.
Don't you think after your like resentment dissipates, when you get out of a relationship, like the first bit of it, you're like, oh, they did this,
Totally.
and then over time that has less impact, and you start going like, oh, I guess I wasn't there and I didn't show up.
Yeah, and you're like,
I
I can
and then the rest of your life is just your mistakes you made.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so like I think in that way, I feel like I'm a better partner.
Did you make some proactive decisions like, okay, I've got another shot at this again, and I cannot let myself do this again?
Yeah, there were certain like I think that there's like certain. Yeah, obviously, I think there's certain things that I was like, well, you should be. You know, like you got like whether you're in a band and you're gone or whatever, like you got to be like, you know, like engaged and
be
more
dialed in.
Yeah, totally present. Yeah.
Well, with Kristen, I like first of all, she was kind of opposite of what I'd always dated my whole life.
Right.
When we first met, she was very Christian, and I was scared to raise kids with someone who was going to want to go to church all the time and all these weird things. I had all these fears about her, but I just kept kind of plodding along because I was like, oh, at the end of the day, she's a super good person and she's really funny and fun to be around. But I remember having to say to myself all the time, like, don't try to defeat this person in this argument. Stop trying to make this person a clone of your thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Like, I think in the past, I felt like if the girl didn't agree with me, then she must not like me. So I've got to really convince this person to think the way I think.
We're not compatible.
Or why would she want to be with me? Like, how can she be opposed to everything I think and still love me? Which ironically, now my wife is opposed to every single thought I have, and yet it's somehow working.
Because you need something
decide,
that balances you.
Yeah, but I had to decide, like, don't do this. There was a voice in my head going, you got to break this fucking pattern you're in.
I mean, I think that one of the issues for me is that like I was probably like when everybody tells you like how awesome your band is and you are and stuff like that, you know, like that was one of the biggest, maybe it's not like really an addiction, but like that was like feeding everything. Like I'm like, I couldn't possibly be, you know, screwing this all up. And at the same time, you're like, I'm basically like a man boy. Like I haven't really like addressed anything about myself at all. You know what I mean? And I think that like in having it all explode at the same time, it like just puts it all out in the light. You know what I mean? Because like, it's like the divorce and then the band and all of it happened at the same time. So it's kind of just like, you just have to deal with it because there's no other way to like, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's like, it's beyond like rock bottom, you know what I mean?
Yes. So, and while it's happening though, don't you, cause I haven't had that kind of like big public breakup, but, in those moments, I'm assuming you think the rest of your life, people are going to be talking about this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that anytime, but I'm sure you can relate in this way that anytime you have anything that goes wrong, like when it first, like when you're a public thing, like when it first happens, you're like, oh my God, like this is going to go on forever. And then you're kind of like, you realize, and you're like, how much worse can it get? And then you're like, oh, it like doesn't go on forever.
People forget. They don't care.
They don't
Something
care.
more exciting
Whatever.
happens an hour later.
I mean, my experience, my most recent experience with that is that, so they did this Ghostbusters reboot or whatever, and Patrick loves the Ghostbusters. We all love the Ghostbusters. He like really loved Ghostbusters. They were like, do you guys want to do the theme song? We're like, we'll do it. We would love to do it. Patrick like loves it. And we're going to do it with Missy Elliott and all this stuff. And we were like this, you know, like we were, you know, like comparatively like to the movie, like we were just this small part of it, you know, but like the tide and everything that was, you know, the furor, like, so like we felt it, you know what I mean? And I was like, I was like, oh wow, this is like, people like really don't like anything about this, you know? But, and they were like,
how dare they put women in those roles?
No, so like all of it, you know, or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and
how dare they put the 3 best female comedians on the planet in this movie?
Yeah. But they were like, we've invited you guys to the premiere, and in my head I'm like, oh man, we're gonna go and like get booed and they're gonna throw stuff and like all this stuff. And we went to the premiere and everyone's like psyched. You know what I mean? Like it's all Ghostbusters fans. They're like psyched,
so
and they're like, we love this song, we love the movie, whatever. I was like, oh, it's just so funny how, you know, like
Yeah.
It's just a weird time to be.
You've done a few songs for movies, right? How many?
Yeah.
3, 4?
We did that. We did this song Immortals, which is for Big Hero 6.
Uh-huh.
And then we've written for movies that have not happened before also, which is an interesting process.
What is the pressure like knowing that you're not just going to go write a song you want to hear? It's got to fit within this already existing thing. Is it stressful as hell to write those songs?
Well, so the first time we wrote, I'll just give you the abridged version. So it is. The first time we wrote, it was like in 2004, 2005, for Shrek. They had temped in, what did they tempt in? Like, it was like, not Beatles. It was, I don't remember what it was. They'd tempt in a song, and maybe it was Stones. And, we met with like Katzenberg and like all, like whatever. Sure. And like, they're like, this is the song that's temped in. And we saw the like rendering and it looked weird and like the song was cool or whatever. Yeah. And then we go back to the studio and we're like, well, they asked us for that.
Right.
But they don't know that that's what they want. We should give them what we think.
Okay, yeah, right.
They want. And you can imagine how well that went.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they ended up using like the Stones song because they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
So then when we wrote for Disney's Big Hero 6, and that was like a really cool process because
you were there before the temp.
Yeah, and when we were involved, and they were like, "This is what we're thinking." This, like, what do you guys, and that was really cool to be part of the process like that. But at the same time, you're writing for somebody else's thing.
But I don't know your process as a band, but I can't imagine you guys ever said, let's write a song that feels inspirational for the first half, then takes a dark turn, and then ends triumphantly. That's not how you write songs, right?
Or like we're gonna have a bridge where they can like introduce characters.
Yes, but in this situation, you very much have to deliver what that moment in the movie needs to have.
Yes.
God, I'm scared of that.
But it's like when you write for a show, it's the same thing. Like you're there to deliver something specific, not to like bring your own idea.
You got to write an episode
table.
of Friends.
Exactly.
It's really hard. In my 20s, I couldn't figure that out. I didn't know how to like be on board for that or like be like, well, that fucking idea is, like I couldn't swallow it.
I have to imagine there's tons of critique and notes when you do a song like that.
Yeah. And like the thing that I'll probably be blowing myself up for saying that. The thing that I've noticed is with like vice president executives, like in Hollywood, they have like all these fucking notes just to have notes. And I'm like, I love a good note, like a great note, even if it's like something that's a critique, I'm like, damn, like that's a great note. Yeah. But a note for a note's sake drives me fucking crazy. I'm like, I didn't start a band for like some guy who doesn't even give a shit, who just feels like he has to justify his job to give me a note.
Yeah, so that is absolutely epidemic in Hollywood, where you have a president, you have all these VPs, and then you have lower executives and creative executives, right? And yes, they have to justify their job by having a thought on something. So even if you have written a Beatles song, there will be notes from those people because they can't just not say anything. Yeah. But like a hack I discovered during Chips, which was, I said to them, hey, how about this? How about I go ask 3 really well-known writers that you guys love to read this script and let them give me notes, and I will take those notes. And they go, great. And I have to say, maybe they would have been the same notes, but just knowing that these writers were just fellow writers that were really just telling me flaws in my story or flaws in my emotional development in the third act. They didn't give a fuck if the movie made money. They didn't care if it was 90 minutes or 120 minutes. Knowing that their motivation was literally motivated by story. Totally. Like, I wonder if there's a scenario which you guys could have received input from other musicians that have already made really successful songs for movies, or vice versa. And has that ever happened? Like, did they ever bring in the composer and go, here, talk to the composer, because he's got his finger on the pulse of what this is.
We did talk to him on Big Hero 6, and it was super helpful. And he was like, listen.
And you probably trusted him, right?
Yeah. And he was like, this is what the score is doing, whatever, and it's like, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. The song that we did that was going to be for Shrek, we did with Butch Walker, who's a super musician, like one of my favorite people, one of my favorite producers. And we just weren't listening. You know what I mean? We just knew better, and like...
And maybe you had a fear too, huh?
I'm sure.
Like when you're afraid, you almost have to draw a line in the sand when you're scared. Like, I got to stick to this.
I mean, like, success is also like this funny drug where you're like, oh, everything I do, like, works.
Yeah.
You know? And then like when it doesn't, you're like, you know, like.
Well, yeah. And there's
that's
a
like
lot
a
of
fun-
famous examples.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
We all do better with a bit of oversight. I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
in general.
Oh,
artists.
100%.
Like M. Night Shyamalan, he does Sixth Sense. It's such a perfect movie that I think from that point on, he was like, well, I don't need to listen to anyone ever again.
Mm-hmm.
There's
That's
a
my
danger-
own armchair.
Oh, there's a danger in it. Like, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I love about being in a band is like you're constantly bouncing ideas, and I'm constantly getting people telling me like that idea sucks. You know,
yeah.
but like we're in the thing, so it's like a lot easier. You know, like it's like a real writer's room because it's like we're all in it, we're all invested. No one's saying it because they're justifying their thing. Like it's they think
Right.
it sucks.
It's for the betterment of the
Yeah.
whole group,
Yeah.
not individual.
But it is hard to hear that.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's really
it's like
demoralizing.
it's the worst. Or like, you know, like I've had like multiple times where people were just like, you know, like, okay, with our new record, our record was supposed to come out September 15th. We pushed it to January 19th. And honestly, when we got to like the deadline of like where this is what we need to turn in order to have it come out on September 15th, I like talked to Patrick and it was like, this record is just mediocre. It's like not good enough. And that's like a rough conversation to have with each other. It's a rough conversation to have with yourself. And like we kind of had it publicly too, where we were like, we're pushing the record back 3 months.
Right.
But like it just
And did he
doesn't-
agree with you? Or
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that's good.
But like it's just one of those
And
things.
it comes out January 19th?
January 19th. But like
What's the album called?
Mania.
Mania.
Yeah.
January 19th.
January
Well, this is very timely.
Yeah.
Yeah, timely. But like the whole thing is that like, you know, like I can't imagine turning to like my kids and being like, well, I'm going to be gone for like 6 months on this record that I think is like kind of good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's rough.
Yeah.
It has to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my own experience, just making movies is I just have to make the movie I want to see because God knows if it's going to make money. God knows if critics are going to like it. There's all these variables I have zero control over. And so at the end of the day, I better walk away with something that I wanted to see really bad, you know?
Totally.
And I have to imagine an album's like that too. It's like you're so upriver from whether or not it's going to be well received or people buy it.
And the beauty of like, and I think this might be different than a film, I'm not sure, but like the beauty of the album is it's like a snapshot of a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and it becomes different 10 years later. And if you put out another album, it's like a companion piece or not, it's a departure or whatever, you know, like they're all just snapshots, you know, like, and you live and die by, like, if you're a pop artist, you live and die by like your last successful thing.
Yeah.
But I think that your like next successful thing is only, you know, like, whatever, like, you know, like a great song or whatever, like is itself, you know, is the thing itself, you know what I mean? Like, so you can like have like 3 albums that don't make any sense. And then you have one where like it just lines up.
You can always get it back.
Yeah. I look at like Maroon 5 or Pharrell or whatever, like it's just like a great song away.
Right. Yeah. And luckily for you as a musician, the expenditure, although it's a lot, I'm sure you can kind of keep swinging.
You can keep swinging.
You get a lot of at bats.
You get a lot of at bats, but you don't get a lot of at bats with, like, if you're on a major label, you don't get a lot of at bats. If you have a lot of strikeouts, the 1 or 2 strikeouts, you don't get a lot of at bats with people supporting you.
Right.
You know, like then you're swinging on your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you leave tomorrow morning to Berlin.
And
I'm very grateful that you took time out of your last few hours before
Thanks
you
for
take
having
off. I've really enjoyed coming to know you over at the Hansons, and I'm glad I got to know you in that capacity where you were just this nice human being with kids who clearly loved his kids, and I could relate.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me, dude.
Stay tuned if you'd like to hear my good friend and producer Monica Padman point out the many errors in the podcast you just heard.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. We've talked before about Rob building our website on Squarespace, and I bring it up again because it's a perfect example of what they do well. Rob had all the pieces, the content, the vision, the ideas, but he needed something to actually take all that and make it public facing. And Squarespace was that bridge. Maybe you're in the same spot. You've been developing something, a business, a skill set, a body of work, and it's been private. It's been yours, but at some point you're ready to put it out there, and that transition from private to public can feel like a huge leap. Squarespace makes it feel like a step. Beautiful templates, built-in SEO, email campaigns, scheduling, analytics, everything you need to go from "I've been working on this" to "here it is, come find me." All in one place, no code, no stitching together a bunch of different tools. So if you've been sitting on something and waiting for the right moment, this might be it. Head to squarespace.com/DAX for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code DAX to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest all in one place.
Let's talk bank accounts for a second. The average bank savings rate is 0.39% in interest. You're earning pennies on your savings, but it does not have to be that way.
With SoFi high-yield checking and savings, the money barely making moves sitting in your savings account can earn over 8 times the national average savings rate with eligible direct deposit.
No account or overdraft fees, which feels rare these days. You can get your paycheck up to 2 days early, perfect for getting ahead of a bill or grabbing what you need right when you need it.
Plus, get up to a $300 welcome bonus when you sign up with eligible direct deposit. Sign up for SoFi checking and savings at SoFi.com/armchair. SoFi checking and savings is offered through SoFi Bank N.A., member FDIC. Terms apply. This episode is brought to you by ServiceNow. Look, I have my dream job. I get to talk to folks I admire like crazy and ask them virtually any question that I want to. I can't imagine a better way to spend my time. But even dream jobs have some not so dreamy parts, the stuff that gets in the way of the actual work. Now, that's where ServiceNow's AI specialists come in. They don't just tell you what you should do about your busy work. They actually do it, start to finish. Cases closed, requests handled, no extra work for you. So you and your team can focus on what matters most, which for me is, are they obsessed with male bodies on the same level as I am?
They never are.
To learn how to put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
They say the average person makes about 35,000 decisions a day. Big ones, small ones. What to eat, what to wear. What still fits. So here's one decision you don't have to think about. Fruit of the Loom women's underwear. Comfortable, reliable, no fuss. It just works every single day. Fruit of the Loom. Because simple feels really good.
Hi, Monica. Welcome to the fact-checking portion of Pete Wentz. How are you?
Great.
Great. Did you find a lot of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff.
Okay.
This episode took me like 4 days to get through.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, I hope it doesn't take the average listener that long.
Yeah. It was tough. Okay. So it was a struggle.
Okay. I'm glad you're here and got through it and didn't end your own life because of it.
Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. So you guys discuss a documentary about the Oakwoods Apartments. Very good documentary.
Yeah, we highly recommend it.
Yes. And it's called The Hollywood Complex.
Okay.
Which we did not say, or you did not say. And you said it was on Netflix, and it's not on Netflix.
Anymore,
maybe never. I don't know.
Well, those things come on and off. They license them for periods of time. It was at one point on Netflix. That's where I saw it.
Well, that might be true.
Okay, but it couldn't be true today.
No, it's definitely not true today, but you can find it on YouTube for purchase.
Oh.
Amazon Video, iTunes. I should have said iTunes first because we like iTunes here.
Well, and I think that's where people would go first.
And Google Play.
Okay.
Anyway, so everyone should check that out. It's a very good documentary.
It is.
I looked into Pete's bar a little bit.
You dug around.
I didn't know that he had one, so that was interesting. So Angels and Kings,
right,
in New York City, first opened in 2007. That's when he was talking about.
Did he mention, or am I remembering reading that Tommy Hilfiger was at the opening of it? Did he mention that?
No.
Oh, that's on the internet.
Oh.
Yeah. Quite an esteemed guest to have
Ooh,
on your first
big
night.
pull. Yeah, big
Yeah.
draw.
Tom.
Tommy H. It closed down. Yeah.
Mm.
In April of 2012. But then they opened a second location in Chicago. In 2008. Then a third location
What?
in Barcelona.
No.
And then a fourth in Hollywood.
I wouldn't know how to open up one in my backyard, much
Let's
less
try
one in
it.
Barcelona.
Should we try?
So they're successful and they're still.
Well, yeah.
Well, did you
they
get any
were,
earning reports?
They were successful, but then in 2011, no, I'm sorry. The fourth location in Hollywood opened in 2011.
Okay.
And the Chicago location is the only one that's still open, but
Oh,
it is
okay.
still open.
It's still open.
Yeah, I don't know if
Better than any bar I've started.
maybe Pete has left. I don't know.
We don't know.
No, we'll have to
Check it
ask
out, though.
him.
If you're in Windy City, go over to Gibson's, grab a steak, and then finish the night out at Angels and Demons.
Angels and Kings.
Angels and Kings.
Angels and Kings. Okay, so Pete also talked about how his grandfather met Muhammad Ali on a plane. Remember, he found that picture?
Yeah, he was the ambassador to Nepal or something crazy. No, Sri Lanka.
Don't stop saying
I'm
stuff,
sorry.
'cause
Yeah,
then
these
this is what
endless.
happens.
Yeah, sorry. I'll keep all future claims.
But he was sort of unclear as to why. He thought it had something to do with Jimmy Carter.
Oh, okay.
But it was because the Summer Olympics of 1980
Mm-hmm.
were hosted by Moscow
Okay.
of the Soviet Union at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
And we're sure Moscow's in the Soviet Union.
it wasn't, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can say that with
Okay, great.
100% confidence.
Okay.
And our president at the time, Jimmy Carter, led a boycott of the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Because the Soviet Union failed to comply with a deadline to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan. And 65 countries boycotted that Olympics.
Yet we've been there now for 14 years or something crazy, and people still attend our Olympics.
People come to our Olympics.
Whatever.
We don't need
What's
to
good
get
for the
into-
goose may not be good for the gander.
Correct.
So they met, but so what's weird is Jimmy was boycotting the Olympics, yet somehow Pete Wentz's granddad and Muhammad Ali were on an airplane headed over there.
Because
they were sending a
no,
big fuck you to Jimmy
They
Carter.
weren't going there. They were, according to Pete, what he was saying is they were recruited by Jimmy Carter. They were part of this
Coalition
team to convince other countries not to go.
Side note, I think this is so unfair when they ask Olympians to not be a part of something. Remember, there was also a documentary and they were calling on black athletes not to attend, but then some went and then they gave the Black Power sign on the podium. Do you remember that whole thing?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems so unfair to go to somebody, okay, you've
worked your
been,
whole
20 years and now
life. I
you got to
know.
fucking shoulder this whole thing.
I know.
Fuck you.
I agree.
Yeah.
But then if they do it, then they could also lose their career because of that.
I don't know what career Olympians have other than going to the Olympics. It's like,
That's true.
yeah.
That is
It's hard to get endorsements for skipping the Olympics.
Yeah, but after the Olympics, they have
like,
to
what if
have
we
jobs.
celebrated people who quit the Olympic team in protest? Maybe if there were some opportunities, to monetize that decision, I'd be more sympathetic, but I'm not.
Well, they also have to work in high schools and colleges after they go to the Olympics and to coach that sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Again, I still don't know why you hire a guy who quit to run your wrestling program at
I guess
Western
that's
Michigan
true.
University.
Point
Sorry.
made.
Okay.
We can delete this part maybe, or we can keep it in. But Pete talks about a book that the band 108 wrote, or the guy from that band wrote, about Krishna core.
Okay.
And I scoured the
Can't
internet.
find it.
Cannot find it anywhere.
Probably self-published in his garage or something.
Maybe
A big
Maybe he
component
wrote
of
it
that-
for Pete.
Maybe he wrote specific. Maybe it was
Maybe it
just
was
a
a love
letter.
note.
Yeah. A big component of that hardcore scene in the early 90s was zines. A lot of guys published zines.
Oh yeah.
Friends of mine had zines. They were,
Zines.
and you
Ugh.
basically just made them over at Kinko's, So maybe this was more of a zine he's referencing,
Zine. I haven't
which would probably
heard
be
that.
hard to find on the internet.
Is it short for magazine?
I think it's a cooler version of the word magazine.
Cooler in quotes.
In quotes, yeah.
Sounds
Because-
terrible.
And also the word magazine's so lame.
Ugh. Ugh. Gross. Magazine. Sounds like maggot.
It's something your parents would read, a magazine.
Okay. Then Pete mentions, so Pete talks about, and you did too, like crazy what happens at crazy concerts.
Okay.
And I had really tuned out because I had no idea.
Sure.
I don't know that
Sure, other
scene.
people
I
did
don't
too.
go to that type of
No,
concert.
you were a cheerleader.
Yeah. I went to Britney Spears concerts and stuff.
And watched Friends over and over
I
again.
watched a lot of Friends. But he mentions the Wall of Death, and you acted like you knew what that was. But I didn't.
I was fibbing.
You were? Okay,
No,
good.
I would get. Can I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it like you stand on something really high, like some scaffolding for the equipment, and then you dive? You do a crowd dive?
No,
Damn
but
it.
I would have guessed. I would have guessed some sort of crowd surfing thing too, just like a
So
more
our stage
hardcore.
diving is what we called it. Yeah.
But it's not that at all. It's a true reenactment of war. Robbie, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is what the internet says. It's a true reenactment of war as two sides split down the middle, charge towards each other with the hope of survival.
Oh. Okay. I've never witnessed that at many a show I attended.
That is
maybe it was
crazy.
popular in the Chicago area or something. It was? Okay. Rob, who's from Chicago, confirms that was really
This
popular.
is the Wall of Death is popular.
Yeah.
Did people die? I'm sure
we would have
somebody
read
died.
it. You
I'm
would
gonna
know
look it
about
up.
the term wall of death if people were dying from it, I bet. That's my guess.
It says a true reenactment of war, so I'm going to assume there's some carnage
Sure.
involved. Okay, so you discussed Ted Nugent.
Uncle Ted.
And you said
Michigan
he
native.
adopted his second wife from Hawaii,
Yep.
and that's very close.
He got guardianship over her.
Yeah, he dated
he
a
could leave
17-year-old
Uh-huh.
when he was 30,
Mhm.
and then made himself her legal guardian. And she
With the
was Hawaiian.
parents' permission, if you believe VH1 Behind the Music, which I
Yes.
do.
Yeah. He asked if he could do that,
Mhm.
and they agreed.
Can you imagine me signing over one of my two daughters to a 30-year-old rock star in a loincloth, which is what he wore at the time?
I mean, it depends on his personality.
I
I
guess
guess.
it'd have to be a pretty persuasive personality. He'd have to have charisma to burn.
I'm gonna guess that her parents probably weren't very involved in her life.
Well, careful now. You could get this
I
liable.
said I'm gonna guess.
Okay.
I
Yeah, you have no
prefaced.
knowledge, right?
I have no knowledge. I'm just
Okay.
saying
Yeah. Who
they
knows?
probably didn't have. They didn't love her.
They were
is what
looking
I'm
forward to
saying. No,
more
I'm
date
kidding.
nights, probably. She'll be in Michigan.
Well, they're Hawaiian, so their culture is a little different.
Yeah.
Than yours.
Right.
Okay, then you mentioned your favorite biography, Titan.
Mm-hmm.
Full title is Titan, The Life of John D. Rockefeller Sr.
By Ron Chernow.
Correct. And it's approximately 800 pages. So when you brought that up, I feel I need to
Full
say
disclosure, and I always feel guilty when I say I've read a book that I've really listened to. I've listened to that book 3 times
that. It
now.
still counts.
Yeah, for me it does.
think
But
it
I can see
counts.
where people are like more impressed that you read an 800-page
Oh.
book than listened to an 800-page book.
Yeah,
But for me, it goes much quicker if someone reads it to me than I have to read it.
sure.
Yeah.
Pete suggested that Cecil B. DeMille owned the park. I assume he meant Griffith Park, and that's incorrect.
Is that what he did? Because I suggested that I think that he owned Laughlin Park. I think that's what park we were talking about.
Oh.
Because this is 40 acres or something, and I feel like when he first moved here, but maybe I'm
Do
wrong.
people refer to Laughlin Park as the park when Griffith Park is right there? I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Okay, hard to say, but he doesn't own Griffith Park in case that is what he
North
was
Central
implying.
Park.
No.
Yeah.
But do you know who owned Griffith Park first, or who?
No.
Griffith J. Griffith.
Oh.
Isn't that a cool name?
Is it?
I should do a little more research because what if that was like a
Should I have named one of the girls Shepherd?
What if his name is just Jay Griffith? But okay, I'm gonna have to look into that a little further. But I think it's a cool name, and I hope it's right. Okay, so you spouted off a lot of stuff about Rockefeller and the amount of money.
In relation to the GDP.
To today, right? You were saying, yeah. Okay, so I looked it up, and John D. Rockefeller, who became the first billionaire, you said that. By the time he died in 1937, his assets equaled 1.5% of America's total economic output.
There you go.
Yeah.
And what's our current economic output?
It said to control an equivalent share today would require a net worth of about $340 billion.
Boom.
More than 4 times that of Bill Gates, currently the world's richest man, whose net worth is $86 billion.
But didn't you just tell me
I
that
thought it was
Jeff
Bezos. Yes, I did.
I was right.
I was told that information.
Monica filmed a commercial with Jeff Bezos recently.
I don't think we're allowed to say that.
By the time this comes out?
Yeah, next year.
We're allowed to say that.
Yeah, you're right. By then, we'll be allowed to say it.
Okay. People don't know who Jeff Bezos is.
We weren't even allowed. Okay, I'm going to stop.
What if you're contractually forbidden to ever say the name Jeff Bezos?
I mean,
close to it.
I wouldn't be that surprised.
Okay.
He was very nice, though.
Yeah.
And I was told
and suspiciously muscular nowadays.
According to you.
Well, I showed you a side-by-side picture. Anyone who's not done the side-by-side picture of him from like 20 years ago and now, he looks like he had a body transplant with Mel Gibson.
I wonder if we should post it on the website.
Oh, that would be great. I think that would be helpful for people to see what's possible.
Yeah.
So right now, if you're in your late 20s and you're a computer programmer in tech at all, and you think, I'll never look like Mel Gibson in Braveheart. Not true. You could, if you decide.
Yeah.
You don't like that I'm using Mel Gibson all the time.
No.
For the example of
that's not why.
dream bod.
That's not why. I just I have a little more information than you because I've now seen him in person.
Right.
And you've seen a picture. And I you know, you're a little inaccurate, but that's okay.
Right.
He's really nice. And he's not the richest person in the world, though. I was told he was. I saw that
last year.
I saw that.
He had the title for a minute.
Yeah, even that's a little but yeah.
Suspicious.
Yeah. Okay. So in regards to you talking about how the industry has changed, the film industry, you said that The Year Without a Paddle came out. Paramount Studios released 12 movies, and last year they released 4.
Yeah, those were guesses for sure.
Yeah. So Without a Paddle came out in 2004 and released 16 movies. Paramount released 16 movies that year.
Okay.
And in 2017, they released 13.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. So it really...
Are some of them under an umbrella title? Like they had Paramount Vantage and some of these other things? Some of these must
possibly,
be
but they still came from the studio.
The studio.
Yeah.
And I wonder if some of them, though, were released just on VOD and not theatrically.
Well, when I looked at the titles, I almost wrote them down, but that
You recognized all of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
for the most part.
Okay, I was wrong. I guess you caught me. You got me in your crosshairs.
That's the first time
I'm
of
pretty
all
sure.
of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should. Okay, so you also said, and maybe this was just a misspeak, but you said jazz originated in Chicago and traveled to New Orleans, and that's the other way around.
Oh, okay. And I wouldn't have even said it originated in either of those places. I only meant to say that the Mississippi and those paddle boats and the casinos on them and all that stuff kept influencing different regions, like different jazz types would migrate north and south on the Mississippi.
Okay.
Again, I learned that in a jazz history class in 1995, so I could certainly be wrong at this point.
Yeah. I think
I don't need to be
started
defensive about it, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
You can relax.
Yeah.
You can just take a breath over there.
Okay.
It started in New Orleans though.
Oh, okay.
But it did
Travel.
make its way up to Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And then you talked about country music
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the only genre
It sells a
still
lot of
selling-
albums.
Yeah, and selling CDs. And I looked into that a little bit, and we could have guessed this, and you probably have already guessed why.
Because hillbillies don't use computers.
No, but close. No, because
Older demographic.
Yeah, the median age is much higher for country music listeners. So
Right.
they're used to going into stores and buying CDs and stuff like that.
Yeah. They're not as tech savvy.
Not yet. Okay, and I just wanted to clarify that you said M. Night Shyamalan made The Sixth Sense, and then by
Stop
your
listening to
estimation,
people.
by your estimation, decided to stop listening to people.
Yeah.
And we don't know him at all, and we didn't ask, and we just don't know if that's true at all. And I wanted to make sure that was said.
No, the only thing I'll say that is true and known is that if you make The Godfather, your opinion holds a lot more weight post Godfather than it does pre Godfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which can be very dangerous for a lot of artists. I'll stand by that claim.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
But we don't know anything about M. Night Shyamalan.
I've never met him, never hung out with him. No.
He could have listened
But I can
to
say by my
everyone.
estimation, the movies have gotten precipitously worse.
Yes, I agree, but
ever
we don't
since
really
the
know
first one.
why.
Yeah. We don't.
There's so many reasons movies.
Yeah. They can go
Don't work.
sideways. Yeah.
Okay, and lastly,
Mm-hmm.
Pete's album releases January 19th. And we got really excited about that because we were like, yay, that's so timely.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then this is not going to come
Not so
out in
timely.
time. It's not timely. And I wanted to apologize
To him or just
to the world.
But there's really nothing to apologize for. Let me tell you why. You would owe everyone an apology if it had gone the other way. So let's say that they were listening to it in December, and you said it's coming out December 20th, and then it wasn't going to come out until February. So they were pissed and they had to wait. But they're going to learn about it. It's already out. This is only upside, I think. If you're going to err in one direction, I think we erred in the right direction.
Don't tell me who to apologize to.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think you owe me an apology. That was it?
All done.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
No.
It really took me a long. I have to reiterate how long it took me to get through.
Yeah, and this is a
Wow.
process for you. You'll probably get more streamlined, right, about the way you attack this.
Who's
You don't
to
know.
say?
Okay.
Depends. It just depends. If I have a huge chunk of time, that's better. But that's hard to have.
Right. I know you're very busy.
That's all.
I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.